A mysterious virus rages, causing people all over the world to go blind. In the school, everyone is wailing in the dark, and the bullying and humiliation towards me no longer exist, because I am the only one who hasn't lost my sight. 1. Take off her glasses. I want to touch her eyes and give her pink eye. Haha. In the girls' restroom, the monitor, Veronica, laughed wildly with red eyes. Pink eye had been prevalent recently, and she had caught it too. She would rub her eyes from time to time. I was held down by 3 girls, and my visual aid was forcibly taken off. In an instant, everything in front of me became blurry. With my extremely high myopia of 2000 degrees, I was almost blind. Can't see now, right? How pitiful. Think about how dazzling you were in junior high school. Why did you go blind when you entered high school? Veronica rubbed her eyes with great pleasure. She and I were classmates in junior high school. I was always the top student, while she was always second. And there was often a difference of several dozen points between us. She also loved beauty very much and was good at makeup even in junior high school, but people always said that she wasn't as pretty as me and that makeup didn't help her. I always regarded her as a friend, but I didn't know that the resentment she had accumulated for 3 years burst out completely in high school. Veronica, don't. My eyes are very fragile. I can't get pink eye. I pleaded with tears in my eyes and shook my head vigorously. I was going blind due to retinitis pigmentosa, a genetic disease. My vision had been gradually deteriorating since I entered high school. I wore a high-power glasses visual aid every day, and my eyes protruded like a frog's. I had been mocked countless times. Veronica also found the opportunity to step on me. What are you afraid of? It's just going blind. Anyway, you're good at studying. You can still get the first place even if you're blind. Don't worry, Veronica cackled, and her finger that had just rubbed her own eyes reached out to touch my eyes. I closed my eyes tightly, but it was no use. The 3 girls forcefully pried open my eyelids. In despair, Veronica's finger poked hard at my eyeball, transmitting the germs to me. Okay, don't cry. I just want to share weal and woe with you. We should get sick together. Be good. Veronica laughed crookedly, clapped her hands, and left. I was left alone in the restroom, crying helplessly and shaking all over. Everything in front of me was almost a blur. I groped around with my hands and found my visual aid, but the lens was broken. I almost collapsed. Without the visual aid, I was just like a blind person. I could only take out my phone and call my aunt. I was living with my aunt because my home was in the countryside, 50 kilometers away, and it was inconvenient for me to go to school from there. It was my cousin, my aunt's daughter, who answered the phone. I told her that my visual aid was broken and begged her to come and pick me up. She cursed at me. Marina, do you know how much money my family spent on getting you glasses? If your father hadn't knelt down to my mother, we wouldn't have wanted to help you at all. I'm sorry. I could only apologize, my fingers turning white from gripping. My family was poor, and my mother had passed away. It was my father who raised me. In order to let me study in the city, my father had begged my aunt for a long time. Even the visual aid was provided by my aunt. My aunt wasn't too nice to me, but she wasn't too bad either. She didn't skimp on my meals, but her daughter had always disliked me. Really annoying. Just wait, I'm still going to sing karaoke. My cousin hung up the phone. I sat in the dirty and smelly girls' restroom, looking at the dark sky outside, listening to the laughter and chatter during the evening self-study break, feeling lost and desolate, too. I sat there for a long time before groping my way back to the classroom with the broken visual aid. When I got back to the classroom, the quiet classmates all looked over. Almost all of them had red eyes. This year's pink eye was extremely contagious, and it was strangely so. A boy in the front row laughed out loud when he saw me. Damn, the frog eyes are bursting. The lens of the visual aid was full of cracks, making my eyes look even uglier and more disgusting. It really did look like they were bursting. What are you talking about? Have you got any manners? Veronica stood up and scolded, then came over with a smile to help me. Marina, are you okay? Did you fall? She was threatening me. If I dared to tell on her, she would torture me even more brutally. I could only say that I had fallen. Veronica smiled even more happily and helped me back to my seat. The evening self-study continued, but I was like a blind person with my eyes open, unable to see anything clearly. The quiet classroom was like a tomb, and I was the corpse in the tomb, until a sudden scream broke the silence. It hurt so much. My eyes. A tall boy in the back row jumped up in pain, covering his eyes and rubbing them continuously. Everyone was startled, just as they were about to check. Another girl let out a scream. My eyes. It feels like they're going to burst. Help. My eyes are bleeding. Another girl's eyes were gushing with blood. The whole class was in chaos. To be exact, the whole school was in chaos, and even the residential areas and streets outside the school were in a mess. Screams, shrieks, and cries for help filled the air, like the dirges of hell. I was so scared that I shrank into a corner and trembled. What was happening? Marina, look at what's wrong with my eyes. It hurts so much. My desk mate grabbed my hand and leaned over for me to look. My lens was broken, and I couldn't see anything. In the midst of the screams in the classroom, I could only shrink back. Is it pink eye? Didn't the news say that this year's pink eye seems to be mutating? Veronica took charge. Everyone, don't panic. I'll call the ambulance right away. She dialed the phone, but before the call was connected, she also let out a scream. My eyes. It hurts so much. I can't see anything. All the classmates in the class were screaming, and no one was spared. My deskmate had already fainted from the pain, and his hand was still tightly gripping my calf. In the corridor outside, some students ran out of the classroom in pain. Help, teacher, I can't see. A boy even crashed into the railing. With too much force, he fell headfirst. I heard the clear sound of his body hitting the ground. I was terrified. Only then did I remember to call the police. I fumbled to dial 110. But there was also chaos on the other end of the line. Don't be nervous. We're checking what's going on. Sizzle, my eyes. The phone call was cut off. Ethan, where are you? Come and save me. Veronica's voice sounded again. She seemed to be crawling on the ground, crawling towards Ethan. Ethan was the school heartthrob in our school and was also my deskmate in junior high school. I and Veronica had known each other for a long time. Originally, he and I were very close. I even fantasized about marrying him, but after I gradually lost my sight, he ignored me. Every time he saw me being bullied, he pretended not to see it. Once, I even went to complain, saying that Ethan had seen me being beaten, but when the teacher called Ethan, he flatly denied it and told me in disgust not to talk nonsense. After that, I completely gave up hope. Veronica, I'm here. It hurt so much for me too. Ethan was shouting from somewhere, hearing him and Veronica wailing for each other like lovebirds in desperate situations. For some reason, a feeling of pleasure welled up in my frightened heart. I hope you all go blind. After calming down a bit, I took off the broken visual aid, wanting to wipe the cold sweat off my face. As soon as I took it off, I was instantly stunned because the scene in front of me was clearer than ever. The chaotic crowd, the blood on the ground, the overturned desks. I could even see the name of the student on duty in the lower left corner of the blackboard clearly. I couldn't believe it. I rubbed my eyes hard and looked again. It was really crystal clear. I turned to look out the window and saw some students on the school path in the distance groping their way forward with their hands outstretched, crying for help and fear. I also saw that the window of the office on the top floor of the administrative building opposite was open. The principal was holding the window, his eyes bleeding, and shouting for someone. Blinking, I realized that my eyes were extremely itchy. They must have been itching for a long time, but I had been too scared to notice. I couldn't care less about others. I quickly took out a small mirror to look at my eyes. When I looked, I was stunned again. My eyes had almost been useless before, without any sparkle, and were constantly covered with bloodshot eyes, but now, they were big, bright, and full of vitality, even brighter than before. Ethan, hug me. In the front row, Veronica found Ethan and hugged him tightly. Ethan hugged her, wiping the blood from the corner of his eye and comforting her. It's okay, don't be afraid. I stared at them, then at my classmates wailing on the ground, lost in thought, for I was truly stunned. Everyone had gone blind, but I had regained my eyesight, watching Veronica and Ethan crying and bleeding like two dead dogs. I had to believe it whether I wanted to or not. They were really blind. I rubbed my itchy eyes again and took in the miserable scene of the whole classroom. This time, I wasn't as scared anymore. Instead, I felt a strange sense of excitement. I'm not a bad person, but the long-term bullying had made me accumulate a lot of resentment in my heart. I couldn't bring myself to repay evil with kindness. After a while, the screams began to fade because everyone either fainted from the pain or the pain subsided, but whether they fainted from the pain or the pain stopped, they were all blind. Someone come and save us. Veronica grabbed the desk and stood up. She had stopped bleeding, but her eyeballs were completely red, as if they had been corroded by sulfuric acid. The eyeballs of everyone were almost the same, terrifyingly ugly. Where is the teacher? Call the teacher quickly. A trembling girl walked along the wall, but she bumped into the door and fell to the ground. Wash your eyes with water. I don't want to go blind. A boy at the door was rinsing his eyes with mineral water, trying anything to save his sight. Is there anyone who can still see? Help us, call the police. Veronica spoke up again. She didn't dare to move and hoarsely asked for help. I could see, but I didn't make a sound. Veronica then fumbled to take out her phone and make a call, but she couldn't get through no matter how hard she tried. I don't think I pressed the wrong number. I can't get through to 110 at all. The network might be down. Veronica's voice was hoarse, still filled with fear. Ethan said in a deep voice, don't panic, everyone. The more panicked we are, the more chaotic it will be. We just need to wait for rescue. Also, don't run around randomly, or we might fall downstairs. Yes, stay calm. Veronica comforted herself and also tried to calm the others down. I watched her and my classmates coldly, without a trace of pity. More than 40 classmates in the class either had bullied me along with Veronica before or had always remained silent and been onlookers, so it was quite reasonable for me to be an onlooker now. Veronica spoke up again. Where's Marina? Are you dead? Why is there no sound at all? I looked at her coldly. What do you want? You're not dead. That's good. Then go to the teacher's office and check. We must get in touch with the teacher. Veronica gave orders. She opened her blood-red eyes and, in this apocalyptic situation, instead looked like a female warrior. When facing me, she had always been like this, as if she were a superior mistress. I laughed, a mocking laugh. No, I refused flatly. Veronica was stunned for a moment. She probably didn't expect me to be so bold. She immediately cursed at me. If you don't go, then who will? You're the only one with the experience of being blind. What's the difference between your frog eyes and being blind? We don't have the experience of being blind. Marina, you should be more used to being blind, right? Can you go and find the teacher? Ethan also spoke up in a timely manner, sounding quite gentle. Unfortunately, his eyes were all red, much scarier than my frog eyes, and I felt nauseous looking at him. I've already fully adapted to being blind. It's as if I'm not blind at all. I sneered. Then go find the teacher quickly. What are you waiting for? Veronica scolded me impatiently. Some classmates also urged me, seeing me as their hope. Sorry, I have something to do. I mocked and took my school bag, then turned around and left. Veronica was so angry that she cursed. Marina, what do you mean? Where are you going? I heard your footsteps. I ignored her and walked out of the classroom towards the stairs. Marina, why are you walking so fast? Are you not blind? Veronica asked loudly. You're not blind, but you won't help us. Just you wait. I'll kill you. I stopped, and a surge of hostility welled up in my heart. Kill me. Such familiar words. I was in a hurry to leave because I suddenly thought of my father and my aunt. If they had also gone blind, they would definitely need me, so I wanted to find them. But Veronica's words made me stop. I turned around and looked at her, like an eagle in the sunlight looking at the wriggling maggots in the dark. So disgusting, I want to step on it and squash it. 5. I walked towards Veronica, and the anger that had been pent up to the limit burst out. At a time like this, she still wanted to kill me. Who should kill whom now? Marina, are you dumb? Talk to me, you bitch. Try walking away if you dare. Veronica was still cursing, but she couldn't see where I was. I walked up to her, looked at her red eyes and ugly face, and slapped her, with a loud slap. Her cheek turned red, her head tilted, and she almost lost her balance from the slap. It hurt so much. Veronica covered her face and screamed. She seemed to realize that it was me who had hit her, and she was both shocked and angry. Marina, how dare you hit me, you lowlife? How dare you hit me? She waved her hands, trying to grab me. But I had already taken 2 steps back and was staring at her coldly. Next to her, Ethan was also taken aback. He quickly hugged Veronica and sternly rebuked me. Marina, are you crazy? How dare you hit someone? The classmates in the classroom were also in a commotion, but no one could see me. I didn't say a word. I suddenly stepped forward and slapped Ethan. You deserve it too. Although I had been bullied for a long time, I had quite a strong grip. This slap made the corner of Ethan's mouth bleed. He couldn't help but cry out in pain and cursed in disbelief. Marina, you hit me. Marina, you bitch. I'll kill you. Veronica was so stimulated that she flailed her arms in the air. I dodged, and then stepped forward to slap her again. This slap was even more powerful and at a perfect angle. It sent Veronica falling to the ground, and her head hit the floor. She cried out in pain, covering her head with one hand and her face with the other, unable to cover both at the same time. Veronica. How are you? Ethan was worried and groped to help Veronica up. Veronica wailed. Marina is crazy. It hurts so much. Classmates, catch Marina, catch her. The classmates were even more agitated. A few lackeys groped forward, but most of them didn't move at all. After all, they couldn't see and had no intention of dealing with me. I wasn't afraid at all. I stepped forward and kicked Veronica. This kick made her teeth bleed. She cried with pain in her eyes and roared, Catch Marina, catch her. I can't see her. Where is she? A few lackeys couldn't even touch me. I still didn't say a word and kicked Veronica again. She curled up with her head in her arms and wailed. Finally, she didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. Ethan finally hugged her and shouted towards the air, Marina, are you really crazy? Stop hitting her. I'm not crazy. I'm just learning from Veronica. I smiled sweetly and said, Veronica had a whim last month and ordered me not to speak for a week every time I spoke. She would hit me. I answered a question in class and spoke. She immediately locked me in the continuation of the cubicle in the restroom after class and beat me. When she was hitting me, if I made even a sound, she would keep hitting me. I smiled brightly, but my eyes were red. Ethan fell silent. There was also a hush all around. The few lackeys stopped moving. Come on, I have to learn from the monitor well. Please continue to scold. Monitor, I stared at Veronica. Veronica raised her finger and said hoarsely, "Marina, don't be too proud." I kicked out suddenly, hitting her finger squarely. Her finger almost broke, and she let out a miserable howl. "Oops, you made a sound again. So annoying." I kicked her knee again. She curled up like a shrimp in pain. 6. Veronica didn't dare to make a sound anymore. After all, I would imitate her. She was shedding tears continuously, her body trembling. And she held on to Ethan tightly. Ethan said in a trembling voice, "Marina. That's enough, isn't it? It's a very critical time now. Let's not dwell on the past. Do you also want me to learn from Veronica?" I sneered. Ethan immediately fell silent. The classmates were as quiet as chickens. I shook my hands. I felt much better. If I wasn't worried about my father and aunt, I would have wanted to feel even better. Without lingering any longer, I quickly left the classroom and headed downstairs. There were also many blind students downstairs. They were walking carefully, calling out, "Teacher, teacher," with their mouths. Unfortunately, no one answered. Now even the police couldn't take care of themselves, let alone the teachers. I rushed towards the school gate. A security guard at the gate was lying on the ground twitching, with blood streaming from his eyes. I didn't care about him. I took a few steps out of the school gate and ran towards my aunt's house. The streetlights outside hadn't gone out yet. The power system could probably hold on for a while. There were blind people everywhere along the way, and there were car accident scenes everywhere. There were fires in many places, and I heard explosions. Ahead, a bus had overturned. Some passengers in the broken windows were crawling out with blood all over their bodies, crying out in pain. In the river, many pedestrians who had fallen and were calling for help in the water and were then drowned alive. A residential building in the distance was on fire, and black smoke was floating everywhere. 7. The gunpowder smoke filled the air, and the street had become a living hell. I was terrified. This was the world without light. Everyone was blind, avoiding the dangers all the way. I finally ran back to my aunt's house, but there was no one in the house. It was already night. Where had my aunt gone? I couldn't help but think of my cousin. She was singing karaoke. Maybe my aunt had gone to catch her. My cousin often went to secretly sing karaoke with shady boys, and my aunt had caught her several times. I could only go to find my cousin. If I remembered correctly, she liked to go to a place called Imperial Dynasty KTV to sing. That place was 3 kilometers away from here. I ran to the street, found an ownerless small electric scooter, and rushed towards the Imperial Dynasty KTV. When I got there, almost everyone was blind. This area was an entertainment district. It was very lively at night, so there were naturally a lot of people. Everyone had lost their sight, with blood flowing from their eyes. From a distance, they looked like a large group of terrifying zombies. I forced myself to go through the crowd and found the Imperial Dynasty KTV. It was in chaos inside. Some men and women were unconscious in the corridor, and those who were walking along the wall were calling for help. I searched for a long time and found my cousin at the door of the women's restroom on the 3rd floor. She was huddled in the corner, trembling all over. The pain in her eyes made her face twitch continuously. She had long lost her former youth and fashion. "Amanda, it's me, Marina." I grabbed her shoulder. She immediately recognized my voice and couldn't help but shout, "Marina, why are you here? Save me quickly. Where's your mom?" I asked. "Don't worry about my mom for now. My eyes feel like they're about to burst. Take me to the hospital quickly." Amanda held onto my arm tightly. "Everyone is blind. It's no use going to the hospital. Tell me where my aunt is quickly." I was really worried about my aunt. "Everyone is blind." "Then what about you? How did you manage to find this place?" Amanda noticed the key point. I said that I wasn't blind. Amanda was extremely astonished, and then she ordered, "You really got lucky. Stop dawdling. Take me home first. Hurry up. Where is my aunt?" I was getting anxious. "She went to the countryside to pick up your dad." "Your dad's rheumatism flared up again. It really costs a lot of money," Amanda replied, with a look of disgust on her pained face. "When did she go?" I asked again. "She went in the afternoon. She should probably be home by now." "Stop asking. I'm in so much pain. Take me home quickly." Amanda was extremely impatient and gave the order again. I calculated that my aunt should have been back by now, but since she wasn't at home, there was a high probability that she had accompanied my dad to the hospital to see a doctor. "You stay here by yourself. I'm going to find my aunt." I got up and left. Amanda was stunned for a moment, and then she cursed, "Are you playing tricks on me? Take me with you." I ignored her. She picked up a trash can and threw it at me. "You lowlife. You ate and used our things, and you dare to leave. I'll beat you to death if you do." "Shut up, you annoying woman. You're so noisy." These words didn't come from me, but from a boy who came out of the men's restroom. He was also blind, with blood soaking his chest. His face was distorted. He was gasping for breath. Drool was flowing from the corner of his mouth, and his neck was twitching from time to time, as if he was having a cramp. I was startled. What was wrong with this person? "Logan, How dare you curse me? Amanda recognized the boy's voice. You annoying woman, Amanda. I've endured you for a long time. What's wrong with scolding you? Every time we go out to sing karaoke, I pay for it, and you play with other boys. Have you ever considered my feelings? Logan was drooling and groping his way towards Amanda step by step. Amanda angrily cursed. So what? You're a willing loser. Why blame me? You're a loser. Yes. I'm a loser. I'm really a loser. I don't plan to endure it tonight, anyway. I'm blind now. I'll kill you in the chaos. Logan's saliva was flying, his neck was twitching more violently, and the veins on his forehead were bulging. I took a step back, thinking that something was wrong. Why did this person seem to be going crazy? Amanda, stop talking. I advised Amanda not to provoke Logan. Amanda sneered. What's wrong with talking about him? He's just a loser who chases after me. He's been chasing me for 3 years and hasn't even touched my hand, but he spent over 100,000 yuan. Ha, it's so funny. I'll look down on this kind of loser man for the rest of my life. Logan let out a roar and pounced on Amanda, pinning her down. He accurately found Amanda's position. Amanda wasn't afraid at all. She was hitting and cursing. Get off me. I'll kill you. Believe it or not, you die. You go to hell. Logan roared again, and then he bit down straight, biting a big hole in Amanda's neck. Amanda didn't realize what had happened at first. Logan bit down again and bit through Amanda's carotid artery. I was so scared that my face turned pale. Logan laughed maniacally. Ha, go to hell, go to hell. Amanda finally realized the pain. She covered her bleeding throat with both hands and was so scared that she was trembling all over. She was definitely going to die. I turned around and ran. Along the way, I saw several people drooling and having neck cramps. They were gasping for breath, bleeding, and their expressions were extremely twisted. I quickly avoided them. I had a guess in my mind. This mutated pink eye virus not only attacked the eyes and made people blind, but also attacked the brain and made people go crazy. Once it invaded the brain, people would lose control like rabid dogs. Wasn't this just like zombies? 8. I was really scared. I had thought that the virus would only make people blind, but I didn't expect it to make people go crazy too. I was even more worried. My father and aunt were probably in danger. I quickly rode a small electric scooter by the roadside and rushed to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I was shocked. It was in chaos both inside and outside, and there were crazy people everywhere. Some were lying on the ground drooling and shaking. Some were grabbing stones and hitting their heads hard, shouting that it was too painful and that they might as well die. Some were attacking each other and biting each other's necks. Most of them were probably patients. Their bodies were already weak, and they quickly succumbed after being infected. That's why the situation here was so terrifying. I tried to approach the entrance, watching the pedestrians nearby with caution. They were all blind, and even the crazy people couldn't see me. They just kept shouting randomly. If they bumped into someone else, they would immediately start fighting and attacking. Many people who hadn't gone crazy also realized that some people had gone mad and deliberately avoided the most chaotic places, but since they couldn't see, they often bumped into the crazy people and were then attacked and bitten. You son of a bitch, why did you bump into me? Sizzle, how dare you bump into me? I'll kill you. At the entrance, a crazy person pounced on a security guard. The security guard was bleeding profusely in the blink of an eye and wailing. My face turned white. I carefully bypassed them and entered the hospital. The hospital was very large with many floors, and there were crazy people everywhere. An ordinary person would definitely not know what to do when entering here. Fortunately, I had accompanied my father here several times. His rheumatism was treated on the 5th floor of Building 2. I walked up the stairs, avoiding one person after another. When I reached the 5th floor, a man with blood all over his mouth suddenly pounced out from the corner, shouting in fear. I didn't bite him. I didn't bite him. It was obvious that he had bitten someone to death and then regained consciousness for a moment, but he was already crazy. I dodged to the side, and he rolled down the stairs, hitting his head and bleeding profusely. He twitched and then didn't move. 9. With great difficulty, I found the department where my father used to see a doctor. There were fewer people here, and the door of the department was locked from the inside. I twisted the doorknob, but I couldn't open it. But there was a cry of surprise from inside. A woman was startled by my twisting of the door. I was overjoyed. It was my aunt's voice. "Aunt," I called out softly. My aunt was overjoyed. "Marina, it's me. I'm glad you're okay. Open the door quickly." I noticed that several people were approaching. They had heard my voice. My aunt quickly opened the door. Only then did I realize that her eyes were bleeding, and she was shaking all over, like others. She had already gone blind, but she had hidden in the department and locked the door. "Aunt, where's my dad?" I locked the door and helped my aunt sit down. She had a backbone now and started crying. She said intermittently, "Your dad went to the school to find you. He was afraid that you couldn't see." I was stunned for a moment and asked in surprise, "My dad didn't go blind." "Yes, everyone went blind, but he didn't. He hid me here and went to find you himself." "Aren't you blind either, Marina?" My aunt realized it later. I hummed in agreement. Neither my father nor I was blind. It seemed to be a genetic issue. I thought of two words: antibody. Both my father and I had the antibody against the pink eye virus. 10. It was really a pleasant surprise that my father wasn't blind. I had someone to rely on in this chaotic apocalypse, but my father was still in danger because any blind person might go crazy. There were so many students in my school. Once they went crazy, wouldn't my father be bitten to death alive? I didn't dare to think deeply. I quickly told my aunt, "Aunt, stay here. Don't open the door no matter what. I'll find you something to eat." I couldn't take my aunt away. There were too many crazy people in the hospital, and all places were in chaos. It wasn't safe for her anywhere. It was better to leave her in the department and find some food and water for her. I would find my father first and then make further plans. My aunt also understood the situation and immediately agreed. I quietly went out again to find food. After half an hour, I brought some food and mineral water to my aunt, Marina. "Be careful, also. Please try to find Amanda. I know she wasn't nice to you, but she's still your cousin." When my aunt saw me off, she made a request. My heart sank, and I sighed. Amanda was already dead. I thought for a moment and said, "Okay, I'll try my best." I was afraid that my aunt couldn't bear the bad news, so I concealed the truth for now. After leaving the hospital, I rushed to the school in a hurry. On the way, I saw many zombies. They actually still had some sense, but their brains were in so much pain that they became irritable, impulsive, and crazy. They would go crazy even if they were bumped into by someone, but as long as I didn't come into contact with them, theoretically, I was safe. When I arrived at the school, I observed the situation inside. It was much safer inside the school than in the hospital. Most of the students were wailing in the classrooms, and a few were groping around outside asking for help. There were basically no crazy people. I went straight to the classroom. My father knew which classroom I was in. He would definitely go to my classroom first. Sure enough, as soon as I reached the stairs, I heard my father's voice. "Don't be afraid, kids. Uncle is here. Uncle will protect you." My father had been honest and kind all his life, and he was no exception at this moment. "Uncle, please don't leave. We can't see anything. Your daughter is as kind as you. She went outside to ask for help and will be back soon. Just wait here." This was Veronica's voice. My eyes turned cold. What was Veronica up to? "You seem to be Veronica, right? You were very close to my daughter in junior high school," my father asked with concern. Veronica nodded. "Yes, Uncle. My head hurts so much. So much. Uncle, hug me." Veronica cried out in pain. "What's wrong, girl?" My father quickly checked, and Veronica suddenly roared, "Hold him down." I reached the door in one step and just saw Veronica grinning like a mad dog, pouncing on my father and grabbing his neck tightly with both hands. Next to her, Ethan was also startled and pounced on my father, pressing him down tightly. The whole class was in chaos. Veronica continued to shout, "Listen to my position. Come a few people. We must catch Marina's father, otherwise, we'll be dead when Marina comes back. Yes, rush here. That bitch Marina will definitely come back to find her father. Catch her father as a bargaining chip," Ethan also shouted. Several lackeys pounced on my father and pressed him down tightly in a hurry. My father was caught off guard. Although he wasn't blind, he was pressed down by several high school students in a mess and couldn't break free at all. "What are you doing? Why are you so bad? You're all children." My father was shocked and confused. "Shut up, you country bumpkin. Blame your bitch daughter for daring to hit me. I'll make her pay a heavy price." Veronica laughed sinisterly. The PE monitor. "Kick this country bumpkin." The tallest PE monitor was pressing down on my father's head. When he heard this, he hesitated. "Kick him. Are you going to oppose me?" Veronica roared. The PE monitor kicked my father, almost breaking his nose bridge, and blood flowed. I was extremely angry. I really didn't expect Veronica to be so vicious. She was crazier than those crazy people outside. "Marina, did you see that? Do you think we can't deal with you just because we're blind?" Veronica laughed strangely. "I'll give you two choices. Either watch your father be beaten to death by us, or kneel down and admit your mistake, and then be obedient." "Marina, run away. Your classmates are all crazy," my father shouted to me, but the PE monitor stepped on his mouth. I looked at them with a gloomy expression and walked towards my seat. Veronica identified my position by listening to the sound and shouted sharply, "Marina, where are you going?" "Get back here," Ethan also shouted. "Marina, just admit your mistake, then listen to us. We want you to ask for help and find food. You'll be our eyes. Be your eyes." I laughed. 12. Veronica and the others just wanted to use my father to control me and make me be their eyes. I laughed loudly. "Do you think I'm still the person I used to be? Do you think you can control me so easily? Do you think you can scare me with just a few words?" I recalled all the unbearable things in the past, how cowardly and miserable I was at that time. Perhaps I was too cowardly, which made Veronica and the others form the illusion that they could control me so naively, even in this dark apocalypse. What do you mean, P. Monitor? Kick her father to death, Veronica roared. The P. Monitor moved his foot again. I had already reached my seat. I reached out and grabbed a folding knife from the innermost part of the desk drawer. I had collected this folding knife for a long time and had always fantasized about using it to resist the bullying of Veronica and the others, but during the 3 years of high school, I never had the courage to resist, so the folding knife had always been hidden in the desk drawer. P. Monitor, if you want to stay alive, you'd better behave yourself. I flicked the folding knife, and it made a clicking sound. The P. Monitor stopped kicking, his face looking complicated and uneasy. Veronica scolded. P. Monitor, kick him, and you guys, take action. Marina is at the back now, catch her. Several nearby students groped their way towards me along the desks and chairs, their hands flailed in the air, trying to grab me. I waved the folding knife, making a beautiful half circle, slash, blood spurted out, and all of their hands were cut by me. Several classmates let out a scream and quickly withdrew their hands. She has a knife, she has a knife. They were so scared that they shrank back. How could they dare to get close to me now? The crowd was in a commotion. They couldn't see anything at all and were filled with fear. Now that I was holding a knife, it was very intimidating. Cover your necks, everyone. I'll randomly pick a lucky one and slit his throat. I sat on the desk, crossed my legs, and smiled maliciously. The crowd was even more in a panic. Everyone was scared and covered their necks. Veronica involuntarily covered her neck, then released her hand and roared, "Don't be scared by her. We've caught her father, and there are more of us. Yes, don't be scared by me. Let go of your hands. I promise I won't slit your throats." I played with them like a cat playing with a mouse. They were no match for me because I could see and they couldn't. A group of high school students. How could they have the willpower to resist the fear of having their throats slit? Sure enough, no one dared not to cover their necks, and even Ethan covered his neck. Veronica hid in the crowd, gritted her teeth, and didn't cover her neck. Marina, come on. Do you have the guts to come and slit my throat? There were at least 3 people in front of her, 2 boys and 1 girl. I looked at the girl and sneered. Stella. We were so close in the first year of high school. Why did you change your mind? You've become Veronica's good friend now. Stella was tall and strong, even stronger than some boys, but she was also afraid of Veronica because her family was poor while Veronica's family was wealthy. Stella was a snob, so she naturally became Veronica's lackey. Marina, let's talk things out. We're all classmates. Stella tensed her face. I jumped off the desk. Let's start with you. Stella, everyone. Pay attention. I'm going to slit Stella's throat. If anyone tries to protect her, they'll die in her place. After I finished speaking, I stood still and didn't make a sound. The crowd was in a commotion. Some classmates who were close to Stella involuntarily stepped back. Stella was so scared that she was sweating profusely. Marina, this is a crime. You're committing a crime. I still didn't make a sound. Tension and unease were spreading. Stella covered her neck tightly and shrank back hard. As a result, she knocked Veronica down. Veronica was angry and surprised. You're such a useless thing. What are you afraid of? Only then did Stella stop shrinking, but the 2 men in front of her had already stepped aside, leaving her exposed. I still didn't make a sound. 13. I didn't make a sound, and the classroom was filled with an indescribable tension. My father was surprisingly on my side at this moment. He looked at me and shouted, Marina, don't do anything stupid. Dad doesn't want you to kill anyone. Stella, step back. Quickly step back. Actually, I was still far away from Stella, but my father's shot scared Stella out of her wits, and she turned around and rushed away randomly. Veronica was knocked down again. Stella didn't stop. She drilled into the deepest part of the crowd. This was a big deal. Everyone was afraid of having their throats slit by me, so they scattered in all directions. Even the P monitor walked away, leaning against the wall. How could he still dare to press down on my father? Don't be afraid. Come back. Stay together. Stay together. Veronica got up and shouted. My father shouted again. Veronica, run. Veronica froze for a moment, then quickly covered her neck with one hand and grabbed Ethan with the other. Her body instinctively shrank back. I smiled. Is that all? In the dark, the one who controls the light will always be the king. I am the king. I took a step forward. My footsteps were very light, and no one heard them, but the folding knife in my hand slid again. The clicking sound continued. Everyone was in a panic. Veronica was both shocked and afraid. Marina, how dare you kill someone? Stop right now. She cursed and hid behind Ethan, shouting, Ethan, stop her, stop her. Ethan should have been terrified too. He couldn't possibly protect Veronica, but he didn't react at all. Only then did I notice that his head was hanging down and he was shaking. His neck twitched from time to time, and saliva was flowing from the corner of his mouth. I raised my eyebrows. Ethan was starting to mutate. No wonder he was so quiet. After thinking for a while, I raised my hand and slashed at the back of a girl squatting at the desk corner next to me. She let out a scream and rolled on the ground, trembling violently. She thought I had slit her throat. The whole class was horrified and thought that someone had been slit in the throat by me. Run! Everyone scattered in a hurry. Some hit the wall, some hit the desk, and some fell to the ground. Veronica didn't dare to curse anymore. She pulled on the corner of Ethan's clothes and shrank back. That area was completely empty. My father had already stood up, and his expression still showed some disbelief. His view of the world had been shattered. I scanned the chaotic classmates and found that several people were twitching and drooling, including Stella. She shrank in the corner, hugging her head and twitching, looking extremely strange. Very good. I motioned for my father to come over. It was time for us to leave. My father didn't say a word. He grabbed my hand and pulled me away. I walked out of the classroom and slapped the door hard. Be good and stay here. I'm going home first. I'll deal with you later. My words made them heave a sigh of relief. This scourge was finally leaving. 14, actually. I didn't leave. I just stood at the door of the classroom. My father went to the teacher's office. Marina, I'm going to look for your homeroom teacher. She's been very kind to you. My father was grateful and wanted to save the teacher at this moment. I nodded, and he ran towards the office. It was quiet here again. Veronica said in a rumble voice, "Don't be afraid anymore. That bitch has left. Lock the door, lock the door." Veronica was really smart. If the door was locked, I couldn't come back, right? Yes, lock the door quickly, or she'll come back to slit our throats. A group of people all shouted. Many people groped their way to the door and locked both the front and back doors. There are still the windows. Lock the windows tightly. Veronica groped her way to the podium and gave orders. The others locked the windows. Now, great. The doors and windows were all locked tightly. Even a fly couldn't fly in. I was smiling. You've locked it so tightly. It will be troublesome when you want to run later. Is it locked? Damn it. You're all a bunch of cowards. We had already caught Marina's father. But you all had to be afraid. As long as everyone wasn't afraid, Marina would definitely kneel down. Veronica stood on the podium and scolded, "Monitor, stop talking. My head hurts." Stella, who was shrinking in the corner, raised her head. Her whole face was as pale as blood, and her body was shaking continuously. "Stella, shut up. You're the most useless one." Veronica cursed. "How could you be so useless? Marina was just scaring you. Why did you run?" Stella's lips were trembling from being scolded, and saliva was flowing. She started panting heavily, and her pale face turned a waxy red. "Veronica, aren't you afraid either? Marina said she was going to slit our throats. Aren't you afraid?" "I'm not afraid of your mother, you useless thing. Crawl over here right now." Veronica was furious. She didn't allow Stella, such a useless person, to question her. Stella really stood up, but she couldn't stand steadily. She stumbled and fell to the ground, and her saliva wet the floor. "Crawl over here. You're just a dog. I can't kill Marina, but I can't kill you," Veronica continued to order, so Stella started crawling. She crawled while panting in pain, and tears of blood were also flowing from her eyes. "Veronica, you're the dog. You can't scold me anymore." I've had enough, Stella was growling, but this only made Veronica even more angry. She couldn't believe that Stella dared to scold her. "Stella, you dare to scold me. I'll beat you to death." Veronica groped her way towards Stella and picked up a stool on the way. Both of them were approaching each other in the dark. When they met, Veronica smashed the stool down. "You bastard, how dare you scold me," with this blow of the stool. Stella almost fainted, but it also completely enraged her. She let out a growl like a mad dog, pounced forward, and bit Veronica's thigh. In an instant, a piece of meat was missing from Veronica's thigh. Stella spat it out and kept growling. "You're the one who's the beast. It's all you who forced me to bully Marina. You forced me, you beast." Veronica was stunned and looked down, but she couldn't see her leg. She reached out and touched it, only to feel a hole in her leg, full of blood. She let out a heart-rending scream. Veronica fell backward in pain and crawled around wildly, and because the classmates couldn't see, they didn't know what was happening at all. They just scurried around and hid. "I'll bite you to death, bite you to death." Stella didn't want to let Veronica go. She pounced forward randomly but was blocked by the desk. Veronica managed to escape and wailed, Ethan, where are you? My leg hurts so much." 15. Veronica was almost scared crazy and kept calling Ethan's name. Ethan was right behind her, but he was standing still. I could clearly see Ethan's face. His face was extremely distorted. Blood was flowing from his empty eye sockets and dripping down his chin to the ground. His twitching and shaking were the most severe. Even his temples were throbbing. Ethan, save me." Veronica continued to back away and bumped into Ethan. She got up and hugged Ethan, groping with her hands. "It's you, Ethan." Say something. There was a strange gurgling sound in Ethan's throat. Ethan, say something. What are you doing? Veronica desperately needed a backbone. Ethan finally spoke. Veronica, you're so annoying. Do you know how annoying you are? Veronica was stunned. What? I said. You're so annoying. Ethan raised his hand and grabbed Veronica's hair hard, pulling it back. I never really liked you. I was just angry because Marina rejected me. I deliberately got together with you to bully her. Ethan showed a mocking smile. I was taken aback and remembered that past event. At that time, I had already started to be nearsighted and was very scared. Ethan had always comforted me, saying that even if I couldn't see, he would take care of me. I was deeply touched. Ethan then took advantage of the situation and started to act indecently towards me, even biting my ear and saying not to be nervous, that this was love. I was so scared that I pushed him away and ran away. From then on, he became indifferent to me, more and more indifferent. In the end, he bullied me together with Veronica. Was this what he called being rejected by me? Just because I didn't want to be intimate with him, he bullied me. It was disgusting. What did you say? You don't like me. Ah, it hurts. Let go. Veronica's scalp was almost torn off by the pull. Ethan smiled distortedly. Yes, I don't like you. I've been annoyed by you for a long time. I'm annoyed just looking at you, you son of a bitch, Ethan. Veronica was furious and slapped him. Ethan took the slap squarely, and the smile on his face froze immediately. The flesh on his cheek twitched wildly, and he suddenly exerted force with his hand. You hit me. With a tearing sound, a large handful of Veronica's hair was actually pulled out by Ethan, along with a piece of her scalp. Veronica almost fainted from the pain. She flailed her hands and feet, hitting Ethan. Ethan didn't know how many blows he took and became even more enraged. He let out a roar and pushed Veronica to the ground. He let out a growl like a dog and then bit down. Go to hell, you disgusting ugly woman, go to hell. Blood spattered everywhere, and her shrill screams filled the air. The classmates were shivering, and several of them stood up strangely. The PE monitor was tall and strong. He drooled and growled, Ethan, what are you doing? Veronica is mine. I've loved her for 2 years. Save me. Veronica had only one breath left. When the PE monitor heard this, his head immediately became hyperemia. He pounced towards Ethan randomly. The other standing classmates also started to move. One person laughed sinisterly. You all laughed at me for having bad grades. Then let's all die together. Let's all die. He attacked the people next to him without discrimination. Another person touched his ear. My ear is disabled. Is it very funny? You've been laughing at me for a year. A whole year. He overturned the desk, scaring the people nearby into screaming. There was also a person hitting his head against the wall. It hurt so much, so much. I'm sorry, Mom. I can't study anymore. I don't want to study anymore. Let me die. The large classroom was like a purgatory. 16, more and more classmates were going crazy. Some people realized something was wrong and quickly ran towards the door, but in their panic, they couldn't open the door. Plus, with everyone pushing and shoving, not a single door was opened. Some people opened the window, but as soon as they touched it, they were bitten by the people behind them. The pungent smell of blood spread. It wasn't just our classroom, other classrooms were also in chaos. My father ran back nervously and shouted, Marina, we didn't find your homeroom teacher. Let's go quickly. The situation here is not good. It was more than not good. It was like hell had descended. Veronica was already dead. Ethan and the PE monitor were fighting each other to the death, and there wasn't much intact flesh on their bodies. Stella and the others were piling on top of each other, not knowing who was biting whom. The other classmates who hadn't mutated were pushing and trampling on each other. Unable to escape, perhaps this was retribution, I didn't look anymore. I quickly left with my father. My father didn't say a word throughout. Since more and more people were mutating, we were also in great danger. We could only hide first. We hid in an unoccupied civilian house on the street, closed all the doors and windows, and stayed there for 5 days. Fortunately, there was enough food in this house, so we didn't starve to death. 5 days later, the street was almost quiet. My father and I peeked out from the window and saw a lot of corpses on the ground. There were also some wandering zombies. They could definitely be called zombies. It wasn't just simple madness anymore. Look, there's a person hiding in the trash can over there. My father found a living person. I looked over and it turned out to be the homeroom teacher. Homeroom teacher, I called out softly. My father took a closer look and was also surprised. It seems to be Ms. Taylor, Ms. Taylor was extremely weak. Her face was so emaciated that she was almost unrecognizable, and there was blood all over her face. However, she could obviously see things and was looking around. My father and I exchanged a glance, and we carefully went to pick up Ms. Taylor. When Ms. Taylor saw someone coming, she was so overjoyed that she almost fainted from crying. My father carried her back to the civilian house and gave her water to drink. She was still in a state of shock and only then recognized me. "It's Marina. I've just regained my eyesight, and I can't see very clearly." Ms. Taylor rubbed her eyes, which were full of bloodshot and looked very dull. "Were you blind before, teacher?" I asked. "Yes, I suddenly couldn't see. At that time, I was just in the bookstore nearby. I also heard someone roaring, and I was so scared that I hid in the trash can in a panic." Ms. Taylor said with a lingering fear. I thought thoughtfully. It seemed that the pink eye virus had passed. It was just like the flu. However, this flu was really terrifying. 17. It turned out that the pink eye virus had indeed passed. Those with strong resistance had survived after enduring it. Those with weak resistance either died suddenly or their brains were invaded and they turned into zombies. As for my father and me, we were an exception. We had antibodies. If the pink eye virus broke out again in the future, we still wouldn't go blind. As for others, it was uncertain whether history would repeat itself. After settling Ms. Taylor down, we rushed to the hospital and rescued my aunt. She had also survived by enduring the virus. Only then did I tell her that Amanda had been bitten to death. My aunt cried so much that she fainted several times. My father kept sighing, and his eyes were red. After that, we went back to the countryside to avoid the stinking city and waited and watched the situation. Half a month later, the authorities began to look for people with antibodies. Helicopters scattered a stack of flyers. My father and I were catching field mice in the field. Now that the world was still in chaos, it was hard to know where to buy pork, so we could only catch field mice as a meat dish. My father caught one flyer, but he couldn't understand it. "Marina, what does it say on this?" My father handed the flyer to me. I took a look. It was looking for people who hadn't gone blind during the period when the pink eye virus raged. I was silent for a moment, and the miserable days of being bullied and humiliated in those years flashed through my mind. "Thanks to the pink eye virus, Marina, what are you thinking about?" my father asked me in confusion. I looked up at him, at his face that had been exposed to the wind and sun. "Dad, all my classmates in the class died that day. I could have saved them, but I didn't." "Why didn't you persuade me?" My family was poor, and my mother had passed away. It was my father who raised me. "Look at this field. It's so good, but if there are field mice digging holes in it, it will be ruined, so we have to kill the field mice with a hoe. Our generations have been doing this." My father waved the hoe and dug open a field mouse hole. 2 field mice ran out of it, and the dog we brought bit them. I nodded. Field mice should be eliminated. However, after the hole is dug open, it has to be filled. If the hole isn't filled, the field will also be in a mess. My father began to shovel soil to fill the hole. After filling the hole, the field was a good field again. I smiled and hummed twice. I still wanted a good field without field mice, just like a good school without bullies. "Dad, it says here that they are looking for people who didn't go blind and can provide antibodies this way. If the pink eye virus breaks out again in the future, there will be an antidote." I explained it to my father in a simple way. My father dropped the hoe and patted the dust off his hands. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." 18. A year later, all places gradually returned to normal, and schools reopened. I went back to my senior year of high school and sat in the corner. It felt like a lifetime ago. This was a brand new class, and I didn't know any of the classmates. But they all knew me because after my father and I provided the antidote, we became famous overnight. Everyone crowded around me. "Marina, you're really amazing and so loving." Goodness me, I was so scared when I went blind. I didn't expect that there were people who wouldn't go blind. I heard that the country rewarded you with 100 million yuan, and your father has also become an official. Is that true? If it were me, I might secretly be happy and not be so generous to provide it. Marina, the best in the universe. I couldn't help but laugh. A good field without field mice really made people laugh from the bottom of their hearts. I hope that there will be no more field mice in the fields of this world. Story 2. My husband handed me a voluntary organ donation agreement and asked me to sign away my kidneys. I signed it without hesitation. Hilariously, with the apocalypse approaching, I fooled him first for 4 million, stockpiled like crazy, and built myself a safe haven. When the zombie outbreak occurred, my husband turned into a zombie, and I beat him mercilessly. My sleep has been terrible lately. I've been waking up only when the sun is high in the sky, and then I feel so drowsy during the day that I had to take leave from work. Today, I woke up at 7 in the morning. I tiptoed to the kitchen to grab some food and planned to continue sleeping afterward. Suddenly, I heard my husband, Hunter, and my mother-in-law whispering in the living room. Mother-in-law, "I think we need to find a way to kill Mabel directly. It would be the simplest solution." Hunter, "We'll create an accident to get rid of her." Mother-in-law, "Exactly. You can't catch a wolf without setting a trap. You, being a man, must be ruthless to achieve anything. Think about it. 50 million. That would last us a lifetime. Once Mabel is gone, what kind of woman can't you find?" Hunter, I'm working on it. Anyway, Mabel must go. Her death is certain. After they stopped talking, I heard Hunter leave for work 2 minutes later. Half an hour later, I pretended to go out to buy groceries, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter once I was outside, because I had already experienced this scenario once before. Yes, I had died once, in my past life, when I heard their conversation. I was too scared to make a noise and hid in the bedroom. I couldn't understand why they would get 50 million if I died, especially since they depended on me, and Hunter spent his entire salary on his own pleasures. Although I didn't understand the reason, I wanted to escape, but I had no strength at all. I was so drowsy that I thought it was all a nightmare. 5 days later, my mother-in-law asked me to buy some traditional medicine from a clinic. As I crossed the street in a daze, a speeding motorcycle ran a red light, hit me hard, and I ended up under the wheels of passing cars, dying instantly. With my dying breath, I gathered my soul and saw my mother-in-law and Hunter wailing and crying. After confirming my accidental death, they took me to the hospital and, using the organ donation agreement I had signed without knowing, harvested my kidneys. That same night, a zombie outbreak erupted in the city with extreme virulence, spreading nationwide overnight, turning it into a living hell. Hunter and my mother-in-law fled home and hid. As for me, my body was left unattended and devoured by zombies. Before dying, I didn't understand why they wanted to harm me, and after death, I didn't even have a complete body, which dissipated my spirit in anger and despair. Now, having been given a second chance at life, I am grateful to start over. Thinking of their cruelty, anger surged within me, and a fierce resolve grew. They want to kill me. I'll see how I can turn the tables and exact my revenge. First, let's uncover the truth. However, where should I start? Unexpectedly, what I had sought so hard for turned out to be effortlessly obtained thanks to my foolish and ignorant mother-in-law. After Hunter left, I immediately got out of bed and pretended to go grocery shopping as usual. As soon as I stepped out, I turned on the living room surveillance camera. I had secretly installed this camera after my mother-in-law had physically abused me in order to keep evidence of domestic violence. It was very discreet, with no one else at home. My mother-in-law couldn't wait to start making calls using the speakerphone. In a sycophantic tone, she said, "Miss Naomi, this is Hunter's mother. We've agreed to let my daughter-in-law donate 2 kidneys to your father." Miss Naomi laughed. That's wise of you. Have you managed to convince your daughter-in-law?" My mother-in-law replied, "Convince, there's no need. My daughter-in-law can't sleep, is suffering from depression, constantly takes medication, and even tries to commit suicide. We can't stop her. Who knows, she might just end up dead one of these days." Miss Naomi responded, "Oh, that's perfect then. Let's quickly sign the agreement. I'll pay you in advance of 2 million yuan, and once my father's transplant is successful, I will immediately pay the remaining 48 million. However, we hope the transplant can be performed within a week. After all, we can't delay my father's uremia any longer, and we've been unable to find a kidney match until now. It turns out your daughter-in-law's kidneys perfectly meet the transplant criteria." Chuckles from my mother-in-law. "It's quite fortuitous, isn't it? Just a blood draw at the hospital, and it turns out to be a perfect match. That's what I call fate." Miss Naomi added, "Indeed, heaven never seals all exits. Money is not an issue for us. We've been searching for a kidney match worldwide. All company employees had their blood drawn, and none matched until your daughter-in-law fortuitously did. We are willing to pay 50 million yuan to give my father 2 new kidneys. 1 isn't enough, but 2 would make him as good as new." My mother-in-law's face lit up with joy. "We are more than willing. Initially, you mentioned 5 million for 1 kidney. 50 million for 2. Naturally, we'd prefer to do 2. Especially since my daughter-in-law is suffering from depression. Her death would be a relief." These two, both foolish and malicious, blatantly schemed for my kidneys. They ended the call amidst laughter. I was so angry, my face contorted. Last week, I went to the hospital to get some sleeping pills, and coincidentally, Hunter's company was organizing a health checkup for the employees. Apparently, the boss had commanded all employees to get blood tests, and friends and relatives could participate too, each getting paid 500 yuan. Hunter, looking to save money, dragged me along to have my blood drawn too. It turns out his boss has been desperately searching for kidney sources worldwide, and now, aiming to harvest from living donors, I had become their scapegoat. Hunter's company is doing very well, reportedly with the boss having assets worth billions. Money was clearly no object to them. Those vicious people actually planned to take my 2 kidneys. Despite our marriage with Hunter, which was fraught with discord and incompatible personalities, I had considered divorce, but for 50 million yuan, he unblinkingly plotted against me. How could I tolerate this? I decided to let him realize that he messed with the wrong person. Back at home, I quickly inventoried all the household assets, preparing to abscond with everything. They've planned a big scheme only to come up empty-handed. If you show no kindness, don't blame me for not showing loyalty. I have less than 100,000 in savings now. The rest has been spent over the years on buying a house, renovations, and a car. That's far from enough. I need to make a fast getaway, but there's no time to sell my house and car. And with a zombie outbreak in 5 days, that same day is also when Hunter and his mother plan to harm me. I have only 5 days to avoid being hunted, evade zombies, and gather a massive amount of supplies to survive the apocalypse. Time is of the essence. I plan to build a safe haven for myself in the next few days, stockpile enough supplies for several years, and stay indoors to avoid being found by the powerful and influential Miss. The best plan would be to flee far away, but with the zombie outbreak so close, I fear that being in unfamiliar territory with limited funds will prevent me from preparing adequately. I don't want to die by zombies or from starvation in another life. I must survive, moreover. I really want to stick around to see the true colors and outcomes of my mother-in-law and husband. I decide to hide in plain sight, close by, this afternoon, armed with the house deed, Hunter's ID, and other essential documents. I quietly took out a mortgage loan of $1 million. Still, this isn't enough. I decide to exploit Hunter's identity further by taking out online loans. I quickly contacted several online loan companies. These companies process loans quickly but require personal information and facial recognition for verification. I filled out the information and waited for Hunter to come home from work. Suppressing my disgust, I put on a smile. Honey, at a recent company awards ceremony, I won a prize. I got an Audi A4 at half price, with the company paying the difference, since I also received a hefty quarterly bonus. I thought I'd buy the Audi for you. It's important for a man to maintain appearances. The car will be registered under your name. You just need to do a facial verification. Hunter, who loves cars but only has one worth around 100,000, has always wanted a luxury car. With his low income, he relies on me. Hunter, looking at the fake lottery ticket I'd prepared, was overjoyed and very cooperative. Sitting on the sofa, he blinked when I asked and shook his head when needed. After several attempts, claiming the verification failed and needed to be redone. He never suspected a thing and continued to cooperate. An hour later, I received messages confirming the deposits of several online loans, totaling $1 million. Hunter handed me some pills. Wife, take these sleeping pills and go to sleep. You've been having trouble sleeping. You need to rest well. Sensing something was off, I secretly hid the pills in my hand, pretending to take them. A few minutes later, I started complaining of dizziness and a desire to sleep, with a cunning smile. Hunter brought over some papers for me to sign, claiming they were for insurance policies the company was offering to employees' families. To confuse him and buy time, I pretended I couldn't see clearly as my vision was blurred. He moved the papers closer, and one slipped to the floor, clearly labeled, Voluntary Organ Donation Agreement. Pretending not to see it, I signed my name where required, thinking of harvesting my organs. In my dreams, you could dig 3 feet into the ground and still not find me. At night, the two of us lay in bed next to each other, each lost in our separate dreams, pretending to be asleep. I was plotting how to make more money, while he was probably figuring out how and when to kill me. In my previous life, after the zombie outbreak, my soul floated in the air. I saw how people turned into zombies immediately after being bitten, with extremely high infectivity and aggressiveness. I didn't live long enough in that life to see the end of the zombies, so I planned to use all the time I had to rent a place and buy supplies to hide out for as long as possible. The next morning, I went to the biggest real estate agency in the city, hoping to rent a safe, spacious, and high-floor apartment. After hearing my requirements, the agent recommended a unit in the complex right across the street from my house, which made me both laugh and cry. This was a high-end community. All large flats and large layouts, none taller than 10 floors. The building they suggested was said to be the most luxurious in the whole city. Lady, you're in luck. A top-floor apartment on the 10th floor just became available. It's 350 square meters, with a rooftop garden and vegetable patch, owned by an elderly couple who are going to live with their son abroad for a few years. I'll take you to see it. This building is occupied by wealthy, prestigious people, and the security level is extremely high, with bulletproof glass and stainless steel blast-proof doors. I was tempted. This was exactly what I wanted. Ever since someone had designs on my kidneys, security has been my top priority. I didn't want to be a target, and fortifying a place on my own would take time. Ready-made security was preferable, despite my concerns about the proximity to Hunter. Given the urgency, I still went with the agent to view the apartment. The place was beautifully furnished, with high-end appliances and furniture, 5 bedrooms, 2 of which were vacant probably because they weren't in use. The rooftop was spacious, half covered with solar panels. The other half was divided between a garden and a vegetable patch, both over 30 square meters. Since the apartment had only been on the market for 2 days, the rooftop was still blooming with flowers and full of thriving vegetables. Lady, look how nice this place is. The old couple loved gardening. They even had separate water and electricity connections for the rooftop. To water the garden, they drilled a well and ran a pipe up here, independent from the community's water supply, she explained as she turned on a tap to show me. With its own water and electricity, this place wouldn't be affected by outages. This apartment met all my criteria except for being too close to Hunter. I was quite pleased, given the urgency, after much consideration. I decided to rent it. I didn't want to disclose my information, so I had found someone online last night to make a fake ID urgently, and I got it first thing in the morning. I used the fake ID to sign the lease, paid a 3-month deposit plus the rental for the underground garage, a total of 50,000 yuan, and transferred the money promptly. I immediately received the keys, opening the door to the apartment. I stood on the balcony and could see directly into the north-facing living room of my 9th-floor apartment across the street. This luxury flat had 1 apartment per floor, with an elevator that went directly to the underground garage, ensuring great privacy and security. Last night, I decided to enhance the security of the house I'm renting, so I got in touch with relevant businesses ahead of time. I paid double the usual rate, and a highly reputable renovation company quickly arrived. They installed one-way privacy film on all the windows and fitted stainless steel security bars outside them. They also built a dry toilet on the roof and stocked up on plenty of yellow sand. Feeling uneasy, I added an electrified fence outside the security bars. With the flick of a switch, small sparks began to emit from the fence. The workers found my actions rather unusual, as my home began to resemble a prison. I explained, my mother-in-law is mentally ill. She constantly breaks things, throws items out of the window, and threatens to jump. We have many enemies, so I have to take these precautions. The young worker looked at me with sympathy. The entrance door is a 280 kilograms explosion-proof door, extremely sturdy and doesn't need replacing. However, I asked the renovation company to prepare several large U-shaped lock chains for me in the event of a zombie outbreak. I would lock the security door on my floor and add a door jamb to enhance security, considering waste disposal. I had the renovation company purchase a powerful garbage crusher for me. Going forward, burnable waste will be incinerated, and non-burnable waste will be crushed and either discarded downstairs or piled up in a corner of the rooftop. Solving the garbage disposal issue, money talks, and paying double ensured the work was done swiftly. Ever since acquiring 2 million, I've been spending without blinking, prioritizing speed and quality. By the time everything was completed, it was already dark. My mother-in-law called. Mabel, are you trying to get yourself killed? You've been away all day not cooking. Where have you been gallivanting off to? I responded, I'm coming back right now. Turning on my phone's surveillance, I saw my mother-in-law conspiring with Hunter. You have to keep a tight watch on Mabel. She shouldn't go anywhere these next 2 weeks. Hunter replied, don't worry, I've put a tracker on her. I've seen that she's been near the house all day. Alarmed that he had actually tracked me, I was relieved I hadn't wandered far. I needed to return home to appease them and carefully locate where the tracker was placed on me. I paid the renovation company an additional 3,000 for their labor, asking them to buy a wind-powered generator and install it on the rooftop, and to purchase 2 sets of water purification systems and 20 supermarket shelves, which they assembled overnight in 2 empty rooms. I told them, I'm planning to do live sales broadcasts, so I need a lot of space for products. Upon returning home, Hunter was cold but didn't scold me for not cooking, probably because he was impressed by the Audi A4. He eagerly asked when he could pick up the car. I reassured him, don't worry, it'll be ready in 4 to 5 days. That night, I meticulously checked my phone and all personal belongings, finally discovering a chip inside a teddy bear keychain that Hunter had given me a few days earlier and personally attached to my keys. Upon opening it, sure enough, there was a chip inside. I smirked coldly, realizing I had to go even further. The next morning, I subtly pulled out his most frequently used ICBC card from his wallet. I guessed that the 2 million deposit would be transferred to this card. I made a round at the company, took a week off, and left the teddy bear keychain there. Then I told Hunter that there was a major project at work, that I was essential, and I would be working overtime for a few days. After that, I'd drive the new Audi straight home. Greedy, Hunter readily agreed, lost in the joy of getting a new car, no longer questioning why I wasn't coming home to sleep these past few days. Early this morning, I sent my parents the address, informing them that I had contracted a serious illness. I also told them that I rented a place to recuperate for a few months and asked them to come and take care of me. In my previous life, I died too quickly and didn't know if my parents survived, though I suspected the outlook was grim. They lived on the first floor in a small town, an easy target for zombies. This time, I am determined to protect them thoroughly. Terrified, my parents rushed over nonstop to inquire about my condition. I showed them the surveillance footage where Hunter and his mother plotted against me, explaining that I had acquired $2 million from Hunter. I planned to lay low for a couple of years, hoping to outlast Boss Naomi and infuriate Hunter. Despite being deeply outraged, my parents agreed that it was wise for me to stock up and hide. However, they had many concerns, particularly about the proximity of our house to Hunter. Worried that either Hunter or Laurel might discover us. I wasn't too worried, though. Time was of the essence, and finding a suitable house wasn't easy. Moreover, I just needed to be careful for a few days. Once the zombie outbreak began, they wouldn't be able to find me. Little did I know, my complacency almost cost the lives of my entire family. I chose not to tell my parents about the zombies yet, fearing they couldn't handle the truth about zombies and reincarnation. So, for the next 2 days, we had to shop frantically. I took out the list I had made during a late-night session, and we split up to shop. My mom was in charge of kitchen and daily necessities. She bought 2 large-capacity refrigerators, 3 commercial freezers, and various kitchen supplies, trying to get everything possible: facial cleansers, skincare products, face masks, paper towels, toilet paper, sanitary pads, shower gels, shampoos, laundry detergents, toothpaste, toothbrushes, face towels, disposable compressed towels, various sizes of trash bags, and warm packs, all purchased in quantities sufficient for 3 years. After all, we had plenty of space at home. I handled the food supplies. I bought 2,000 kilograms each of vacuum-packed rice and flour, 20 boxes of noodles, 100 barrels of cooking oil, various instant foods including self-heating rice, self-heating hot pots, instant noodles, pasta, spicy noodles, snail noodles, sausage, and other instant foods totaling 100 boxes, various military canned goods, compressed biscuits, various grains, and 50 kilograms each, various spices, hot pot bases, 20 boxes in total, and 100 bags of powdered milk. At the wholesale market, we purchased 20 slaughtered chickens, 50 fresh fish, 100 kilograms each of beef, lamb, and pork, various dried fish totaling 100 kilograms, and frozen pig's feet, beef spine, beef ribs, chicken wings, chicken legs, chicken feet, each cut into portions of 1 or 2 kilograms, eggs, 10 trays of 5L bottles of mineral water, 20 boxes each containing 4 bottles of 555 milliliters mineral water, 20 boxes each containing 24 bottles, 10 cans of children's milk powder, 50 cans of adult milk powder, 20 boxes of room temperature milk, sparkling water, Coke, Sprite, tea drinks, and other beverages with 2 boxes each, 3 boxes of white wine, 50 boxes of tea bags, and 100 boxes of coffee. At the farmer's market, we bought cabbages, kohlrabi, kelp, radishes, and other vegetables suitable for pickling, along with 15 boxes of vinegar, 10 kilograms of chili powder, 50 kilograms of sugar, various spices, 50 high-quality pickling jars, and seeds and nutrient soil for various vegetables and fruits. We also bought 5 420L water storage barrels and 5 200L water storage barrels. Online purchases included drones, high-power binoculars, Bluetooth speakers, flashlights, electric heaters, double electric blankets, fans, air purifiers, radios, 2 of each, 50 portable power banks of 20,000 mAh, 10 external hard drives, 10 high-definition monitors, and 5 new smartphones. We also stocked up on 4-piece bed sets, quilts, disposable sheets, pillowcases, and bought 10 USB drives, 2 laptops, and 2 tablets each. My dad was responsible for buying living supplies and medicines, disposable underwear, socks, shoes, clothes for all seasons, 4-piece bed sets, duvets, air conditioning, summer quilts, cotton shoes, slippers, thin and thick home clothes, military coats, down jackets, vacuum bags, wet wipes, all purchased in quantities sufficient for 3 people for 3 years, doubled just to be safe. I had enough money to spend. My dad also bought cigarettes, lighters, candles, matches, various types of batteries, all well prepared. The rooftop terrace garden was to be fully utilized, with coconut coir, flower pots, small shovels, small hoes, sickles, scissors, multifunctional knives, nylon ropes, bamboo poles, insecticides, watering cans, all essential. Even though a water pipe was connected to the rooftop, I still prudently bought plenty of water: 20 boxes of 5L mineral water, each box containing 4 bottles, 20 boxes of 555 milliliters mineral water, each box containing 24 bottles. I dared not buy more, fearing the floor couldn't bear the weight. We bought 2 cabinets full of medicines, anything useful we could think of. Antibiotics were not easy to purchase. I gave the clerk 500 yuan, who then happily prepared everything for us. Considering the possibility of gas supply interruption, I bought 10 cassette stoves, 500 portable gas canisters, 5 charcoal stoves, 20 boxes of smokeless charcoal, 20 boxes of solid alcohol, and 5 alcohol stoves. Fire extinguishers and fire blankets were also fully prepared, considering safety issues. I also bought several of the thickest baseball bats, telescopic self-defense electric batons, chainsaws, axes, gasoline, and the longest watermelon knives. Staying at home, we also needed to consider exercise, so I prepared accordingly. I certainly wouldn't miss out on the energy-generating treadmills and dynamic bikes. And I also stocked up on some smaller fitness equipment like rowing machines that my parents could use. Nourishment for the mind is essential. So I picked up hundreds of books from the bookstore. The rented house has broadband internet which hasn't expired yet. I plan to download thousands of movies and tens of thousands of books before the service is discontinued, and store them on my laptop and tablet, while satisfying my own intellectual needs. I didn't forget my parents. I bought my mother lots of cross-stitch wool, knitting needles, and for my father, various books on chess, calligraphy, and painting tools. As these are their hobbies, with so much to buy, it took us 3 full days to complete our purchases. When time was of the essence, I paid a premium to hire some errand runners to assist with the shopping. While I handled the payments, all the purchased items were packed into boxes as much as possible and delivered to a storage warehouse I had rented in advance. In the evening, I called a moving company and paid extra for more workers to quietly transport everything from the basement to my home under the cover of night, to avoid drawing attention. Even if someone saw, they would only notice the boxes and assume I was moving house. During the night, my parents and I didn't rest. We first powered up the refrigerator and freezer to freeze the meat, and just piled the rest of the supplies haphazardly in the living room and 2 spare bedrooms without much care. During these 3 days, I didn't return home. Hunter and my mother-in-law called me dozens of times a day, and I lied to them saying I was working overtime on a big project at the company, which would earn me a bonus of 20,000 yuan. I promised them 5,000 yuan each, and I'd keep 10,000 yuan for myself. The two, driven by greed, didn't suspect a thing. Moreover, my location tracker showing me at the company convinced Hunter. However, on the 4th day, Hunter kept calling, insisting on picking me up from the company. I guess he had received his advance payment and was eager to get rid of me. I agreed for him to come pick me up after work. Before leaving, I checked Hunter's bank balance at an ATM. Having been married for years, I knew his bank card PIN. Sure enough, there was 2 million yuan deposited, the advance payment from Ms. Naomi. I was curious to see how he planned to get rid of me. I hurried to make one last round of purchases. Tomorrow night, the night my mother-in-law killed me in my past life, was also when the zombie outbreak would occur. Today, I bought a large quantity of vegetables, including various fresh and dried types such as dried kelp, mushrooms, vermicelli, daylily, black fungus, white fungus, seaweed, red dates, and dried bean curd, 20 kilograms each, dried sea cucumber and dried abalone, 10 bags each, long-lasting Fuji apples, oranges, and grapefruits, 50 kilograms each, 20 boxes of various meat canned goods and 50 boxes of canned fruits. Since fresh fruits wouldn't be available later, these cans would suffice. All these items were packed and loaded into a truck, which I paid to deliver to my home late at night when fewer people were around, for my parents to receive. Before leaving work, I waited for Hunter at the company entrance. Returning home was risky, but I was fixated on that 200,000 yuan advance. Knowing the dangers, I still headed towards them. I took out my phone and bought a plane ticket to the capital for early the next morning to throw them off. I had to ensure Hunter and his mother squandered their fortune, incurred heavy debts, and offended Laurel, forcing them to pursue me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be satisfied. While waiting, I accessed the home surveillance system and quickly reviewed the footage. As expected, I saw Hunter and his mother arguing. Mother-in-law: "You've been giving Mabel sleeping pills for days, claiming they make the brain uncontrollable and turn people foolish. Why hasn't she come home for days?" Hunter: "Don't worry, I had been feeding her triple the dose of antidepressants. Once she took them, she would fall into a deep, drowsy sleep, making it easy for us to control her." Mother-in-law: "I've already coordinated with Laurel. Tomorrow night, I'll send Mabel out to buy medicine, and Laurel will arrange for a car accident to make her death look like an accident, completely unnoticed." Hunter: "We have to act tomorrow. Laurel's father is already in the hospital waiting for a kidney transplant. I've received the 2 million deposit. We can't delay any longer. Mabel got sleeping pills from the hospital, but I swapped them with antidepressants. Nobody knows, and lately, she's been so groggy and careless when crossing the street." Reading this, I had an epiphany. No wonder I've been feeling drowsy every day since returning from the hospital. Since Laurel and Hunter found out that my kidneys are a perfect match for her father, they've been scheming against me, one for money and the other for a kidney, conspiring to kill me. My heart is filled with hatred. I won't rest until I drain every penny from Hunter and watch him die in despair. Returning home that evening, my mother-in-law immediately scolded me. "Where have you been these past few days? Not coming home?" I reassured my mother-in-law and Hunter, "Don't be upset. I've been working overtime for the past 3 days to finish a project at work. I'll get a bonus tomorrow and give each of you 5,000. I'll also be picking up the Audi tomorrow. I'm exhausted from the all-nighters and will stay home to sleep for the next 2 days. I won't go out anymore. The two of them exchanged glances, their expressions greedy upon hearing about the money in the car, and that I wouldn't be going out. I didn't want them to suspect anything. So I calmed them down first. That night, while they were asleep, I began my plan. Before dinner, I secretly crushed some sleeping pills and mixed them into their rice bowls. They both were sound asleep by 10 p.m. I took out Hunter's ICBC card, ready to transfer money. Using Hunter's fingerprint, I unlocked his phone and opened the ICBC app. The daily transaction limit for the bank was 1 million yuan, so I transferred 1 million before midnight and another 1 million after midnight. Only a few thousand yuan was left on the card, which couldn't be transferred anymore. Somewhat regretfully, I put the card back into Hunter's wallet and deleted the transaction messages from his phone. Taking advantage of the deep sleep of my mother-in-law and Hunter, I packed my things and quietly left home. With that departure, I might never see them again in this lifetime. Before leaving, I discarded a little bear charm and left a stack of bills and documents on the dining table. All the materials related to the mortgage and online loans. Back in my rental, I turned my phone on silent and fell into a deep sleep, exhausted from the constant running around and high stress. When I woke up, there were dozens of missed calls on my phone, all from Hunter. I answered the call, and Hunter cursed, "Mabel, you damn woman, you took out a mortgage and online loans for 2 million, and also transferred 2 million from my ICBC card. Are you out of your mind? I'm going to call the police and catch you," I asked with a laugh. "So where did the 2 million on your ICBC card come from? Dare you tell the police the truth?" Frustrated, Hunter stubbornly responded, "That was money I borrowed from a friend, planning to do business. I hope your business goes well and you make a fortune. Just wait, I will definitely call the police and have you thrown in jail. Suit yourself." I hung up my phone and had breakfast. Breakfast was soy milk, fried dough sticks, steamed dumplings, and soup dumplings that Dad bought from a little shop outside. As I devoured my food, I vaguely told him, "Dad, starting today, let's not go out anymore. You and Mom must stay home today and not leave the house. We have enough supplies at home to last us for 2 or 3 years. I don't believe Mr. with his kidney disease can last that long, since he's in such a hurry to get a transplant. His condition must be very severe, even with all his money. I'll make sure he can't find me." I didn't tell my parents about the zombie outbreak that was to happen tonight. They would see it for themselves in the evening, but I didn't expect, at the critical moment, my dad would cause trouble. Tonight was the time, in my previous life, when Hunter and his mother pushed me down the stairs. After they took me to the hospital and harvested my kidneys, the zombie outbreak occurred. I remember it clearly, in the afternoon. I stood on the balcony with a pair of binoculars, watching the house across the street. Our houses were more than 100 meters apart, but with the high-powered binoculars, they seemed much closer. I opened my phone to monitor the audio while I watched with the binoculars. I saw Hunter and his grandmother pacing in the living room. "Grandmother, what do we do now? We've already taken the deposit, but Mabel has run away. If we can't find Mabel, according to the agreement, we'll have to pay back double the deposit. You better quickly track her location so we can catch her." "Hunter," I checked. "Her location data shows she's at home, which means she probably found the tracker and threw it away." "Grandmother, let's have Laurel look for her. Her family has significant influence. Maybe they can find her." "Hunter," I checked Mabel's purchase history and found she bought a plane ticket to Beijing early this morning. She's definitely fled. We've lost her." Laurel quickly arrived and, upon hearing Hunter's hesitant explanation, became furiously enraged. "You fool, she discovered your plan and escaped, even swindling you out of 4 million. My father is lying in the hospital. The doctor said his condition has worsened and he can only last a week. If we don't find Mabel, I'll chop you up." Hunter, grinding his teeth, said, "Even if she has run to Beijing, we'll find a way to catch her and tear her into pieces." The three plotted on how to find me. I no longer cared, for the zombie outbreak would happen tonight. As darkness fell, I stood on the balcony with my binoculars, observing the brightly lit streets bustling with traffic, a scene of peace and prosperity, but I knew danger was approaching the city. Suddenly, several cars collided in the distance, instantly causing a traffic jam. A man covered in blood crawled out of a car door, staggered into the middle of the road, and was hit by a Land Rover. The man lay motionless on the ground but soon got up, pulled the driver out of the Land Rover with incredible strength, and bit a large chunk of flesh from the driver's face. The driver of the Land Rover screamed in agony, running aimlessly and biting anyone he bumped into. The chaos spread quickly. 1 infected 10, 10 infected 100, and soon the streets were clogged with vehicles, and people ran everywhere, biting anyone they encountered. Rivers of blood. My hands trembled slightly as I held the binoculars, and I turned to say, "Mom, the zombie outbreak has started." My mom tipped the binoculars, shivering with fear, and exclaimed, "What kind of devilry is this? It's terrifying." She then cried out, "Oh no, your dad went out and he's not at home." My eyes widened in shock. When did he leave? Where did he go? What for? Didn't I say not to go out today at all? My mom was both anxious and angry. He wouldn't listen to persuasion. He said he had contacted someone about buying some chicks to raise on the rooftop. Fearing you wouldn't agree, he sneaked out. It's been an hour since he left. I hurriedly tried to call my dad, but repeated calls went unanswered. I was about to lose my mind. The world outside had already started to descend into chaos. The zombie virus was poised to grow exponentially in a short time. Staying outside during this time was undoubtedly a death wish. With a baseball bat in my left hand and a watermelon knife in my right, I set out to find my dad. My mom tried to stop me, but she couldn't. I was betting that my dad would return soon, that our neighborhood was still safe, and that I was capable of fighting off zombies. No matter what, I had to save my dad. Just as I dashed out of the neighborhood, my phone rang. It was my dad. "Mabel, it's chaos out here. People have turned into monsters. It's a cannibalistic madness. Dad, where are you?" I screamed at the top of my lungs. "I'm almost at the neighborhood junction, just past the traffic light from your old home, riding an electric tricycle. Come back quickly. I'm coming to meet you," I yelled, sprinting forward. At that moment, the streets were in disarray, cars collided aimlessly and traffic was congested, although I didn't see any zombies on the road. It was possible that someone in one of the cars had already turned into one. As I ran, I kept my eyes peeled, searching all around, and finally spotted my dad among the crowd. He was maneuvering an electric tricycle borrowed from the property management, zigzagging through the bike lane. Just 100 meters past this junction, and we would be at our community's main gate. Once inside, we would be safe, relieved. I hurriedly ran up and jumped into the tricycle. Inside, there was a cardboard box with more than a dozen chicks and 2 large hemp bags. "Dad, speed up, let's hurry back," I urged him continuously. Suddenly, a bloody hand grabbed our tricycle, slowing it down. I looked closely and saw a woman whose right eyeball had fallen out and was hanging on her face. She was missing an arm, and the bone at the break was glaringly visible, yet she seemed to feel no pain. A smile still on her face as she clutched our vehicle with her other hand. It was a zombie. My heart pounded furiously as I swung the watermelon knife at her hand, gripping the vehicle. The blade was incredibly sharp, and with all my strength, I chopped down fiercely, severing her hand after several strikes, blood splattering everywhere. My dad accelerated, zigzagging towards the community gate. The security guard at the residential complex was slowly pushing the heavy iron gate, holding a chain and lock. "Ready to lock it up," I yelled out. "Wait, let us in, we live here." The guard hesitated for a moment, but upon seeing the electric tricycle driven by my father, which belonged to the property management, and noticing that neither of us was injured, he let us in and quickly locked the main gate. My dad and I entered the building, our legs weak with relief. My dad didn't forget to drag in 2 large bags and a cardboard box full of chicks, without asking or complaining to my dad. I went upstairs and immediately grabbed several large U-shaped chain locks and door stoppers to secure the building door and the safety door on our floor. The 10th, installing strong door stoppers. Since the elevator required a card for each household, I wasn't worried about that. After securing everything, I returned to our apartment, my whole body stiff with tension. The most unsettling feeling was a persistent chill on my back. Ever since picking up my dad at the intersection, I felt as if someone's gaze was fixed on me. I received a voice message on Instagram in Hunter's eerie voice. "Mabel, I know where you live now. I saw you, and I'm coming to find you." A chill ran down my spine, reviving the uneasy feeling I had at the intersection. Yes, Hunter and his mother, Laurel, must have seen me from their window, panic-stricken, as they observed the outside situation and spotted me chopping down zombies with a watermelon knife by the roadside. Seeing Hunter's abusive and threatening words on Instagram, I tossed my phone aside, pondering deeply. Hunter only saw me enter this complex. He doesn't know which building I'm in. There's no need to fear. I came to this conclusion, feeling slightly relieved, and decided to ignore his messages. Turning around, I saw my dad pulling the burlap sacks, and I asked him why he went outside. My dad mumbled, "I was worried we might be stuck in this house for years. So I thought of getting some chicks to raise for eggs later." The guard at the gate introduced me to a relative of his who was selling chicks. I went to buy a few, along with 2 bags of chicken feed. "You told me not to go out today, but I thought it would be safe since it was dark and no one would notice. I didn't expect so many monsters to suddenly appear outside." I wanted to be angry, but realized I hadn't informed my parents about the zombies, so I couldn't blame them, fortunately. My dad returned safely, otherwise, I would have regretted it forever. I told my parents, those aren't monsters outside, they are zombies, undead creatures that can't be killed easily, are highly aggressive, and very contagious. One bite, and you become one of them. My dad was shaken. I've lived most of my life and never seen such creatures before. It's terrifying. I repeatedly cautioned my parents, from now on, we must stay inside, be very cautious every day. Zombies are sensitive to light and sound, we need to be careful, the chicks make noise, and since zombies are sensitive to sound, we'll keep the chickens in the guest bathroom, with the door tightly shut so no noise escapes. Then I advised my mom, for the next few days, cook by stewing rather than frying to avoid cooking smells, and don't make overly fragrant dishes. The first few days will likely be the peak of the zombie outbreak, and we need to be extremely cautious. My mom, patting her chest in relief, said, "It's good we stocked up on so many supplies. We can stay at home for a year or two without going out, otherwise, it would be too scary." With a sigh, my parents settled the chicks and called me to help organize our supplies. In recent days, we've purchased a large amount of supplies, which are now haphazardly piled in the living room and 2 bedrooms, awaiting organization. Now that we have some free time, we've started to sort everything out. First, we arranged the shelves in the 2 empty rooms and categorized the supplies by their uses, placing them neatly in rows. We also paid attention to the weight of the items, making sure not to stack heavy items in one place. We distributed the supplies across different rooms to reduce the pressure on the floorboards. I used paper to record the expiration dates of various items. Unfortunately, in the rush, I forgot to buy stationery, so I had no curved paper or labels. But my mother ingeniously made some paste, and I cut small strips of paper, which we stuck on the shelves to note the expiration dates. After working hard for half the day, we only managed to organize a small portion of the supplies, leaving us exhausted. For lunch, my mother made a pot of corn and pork rib soup and a dish of mixed cold vegetables. It was a simple meal, but I was so hungry that I ate 2 bowls of rice. After lunch, with nothing much to do, I checked the phone surveillance to see what Hunter and his mother were up to. They were gathered around the dining table, eating. There were only 2 simple vegetarian dishes, stir-fried shredded potatoes and vinegar-flavored cabbage. Laurel frowned and said, "I gave you a $2 million deposit, and this is what you feed me." Hunter, trying to smile, replied, "We're running out of groceries. We've almost eaten through our stock. Just make do for now." The mother-in-law blamed Mabel. "It's all that wretch's fault for not buying enough groceries to fill the fridge." Laurel slammed her chopsticks down. "Your daughter-in-law ran off long ago. How is this her fault? If you had been smarter, would I be trapped here?" Hunter and his mother looked dejected and dared not utter a word. As they say, evil meets its match. Usually, my mother-in-law wouldn't let me buy groceries in bulk, insisting on daily purchases for freshness, without considering how tiring my commute and early morning market runs are, and now she dares to blame me. The meat and vegetables in the fridge will last a week at most. After that, with only half a bag of rice left, we'll see how long they can manage," Hunter said. On the day of the zombie outbreak, I saw Mabel and her father riding a tricycle into the upscale community across the street. "They must be living there," the mother-in-law cursed. "That wretch, running off with our money to live in an upscale community. If it weren't for the zombies, we'd find her and tear her to pieces." Laurel added, "Remember to save her kidneys for me. My father is still in the hospital waiting for a transplant. Also, since your wife is just across the street, I will find someone to search there and bring her out." Hunter murmured softly, "With the outbreak, the loans Mabel took out using my identity don't need to be paid back." Laurel sharply reminded him, "Don't forget, I'm still here. You took my $2 million deposit, didn't deliver the kidney, and trapped me here. According to our agreement, you owe me double compensation. That's $4 million. You'll have to pay up eventually." I sighed to myself, how foolish. Isn't she just forcing Hunter to deal with her? Sure enough, I saw a glint of murderous intent in Hunter's eyes. As for Laurel wanting to find me, I'm not too worried. I used false information to rent my house. And with the zombies throwing the world into chaos, everyone is too busy looking out for themselves. Who would come looking for me on her behalf? After watching the commotion at the Hunter's place, I picked up my binoculars to observe the scene outside. Outside the window, the noise of the crowd was deafening as the Hunter's neighborhood had been overrun by zombies. In a regular residential area with less stringent security measures, a horde of grotesque zombies broke through the main gate, with the first victims being 2 security guards. After being bitten, the guards convulsed on the ground for a moment before joining the ranks of the undead. These zombies seemed to possess some intelligence post-infection, managing to open building doors themselves and then proceeding to pound on apartment doors. Soon, screams echoed from the stairwells, startling Hunter, his mother, and Laurel. Hunter, pressing his face against the glass, turned pale at the sight of zombies wandering through the complex. "Mom, we absolutely can't go outside. There are zombies everywhere, even in the stairwells. What are we going to do? We don't have much food left. It won't last us many days," Laurel said. "What's there to be afraid of? Didn't the TV say that the government and military are working hard to eliminate the zombies? It'll all be over in a few days." Oh, if only that were true. Laurel's naivete is blatantly obvious. With the zombies' highly infectious nature, how could they possibly be eradicated so quickly? We need to prepare for a prolonged siege. It's likely that we'll soon lose electricity, water, gas, and internet services. I alerted my parents to fill all our water storage containers, fully charge all power banks, and I subscribed to several streaming services. I turned on my laptop, connected an external hard drive, and continuously downloaded various movies, TV shows, and books. Although there's a separate water pump in the rooftop garden, getting water requires going upstairs. With a strong sense of impending crisis, I'd rather avoid going to the rooftop unless absolutely necessary, feeling safer when everything we need is stocked up at home. The rooftop is equipped with ample solar panels, and I had also installed a combined wind and solar power generator, already tuned and connected by the workers whenever there's a power outage. I just switch on the circuit breaker to transition to the generator and solar panels, which can store up to 20 kilowatt hours per day, enough to meet our daily needs. While downloading videos, I also browsed major websites and social media. I saw many people risking their lives to drive out of the city. Leaving the city is wise, as urban areas are densely populated and carry higher risks. However, one must leave early. Waiting until a zombie outbreak is in full swing is clearly too late, as zombies can be encountered anywhere on the roads, ready to claim lives. On social media, calls for help were everywhere, but in the current situation, who can come to your aid? Military, police, and emergency services are already overwhelmed and likely won't last much longer. The government is dropping supplies into various neighborhoods daily using drones, but it's barely making a dent. Sometimes people get bitten by zombies before they can secure supplies, or fights break out among neighbors over the distribution of goods. I alternate between watching the news and observing the situation outside with my binoculars. The TV is still on, continuously updating with the latest news. The situation worsens day by day. Social order is barely maintained, but with the number of zombies only increasing, it's likely that social order will soon collapse. My parents watched until their eyes were red. At this rate, could humanity go extinct? I comforted them. The spread of the zombie virus is rapid, but this difficulty is temporary. I believe scientists will develop a vaccine or chemical weapons to combat the virus. Plus, we still have the military to suppress the zombies. There will be a way. As ordinary folks, we should just stay at home and protect ourselves, not getting involved with others. There's no need to play the hero during an apocalypse. Though I said this, I soon contradicted myself by nearly bringing death upon myself while trying to help someone else. I received a distress message from my neighbor, Leah, on Instagram. "My baby's formula is almost finished. I bought some more, but it's still at the courier station and I haven't been able to pick it up because of the zombie outbreak. What should I do?" Leah lives in the same building as I do. She's beautiful and kind-hearted, and her husband is also very friendly and warm. A year ago, while I was crossing the street, I was almost hit by a car driven by a drunk driver. At the critical moment, Leah, who was 6 months pregnant, grabbed me and we both fell to the ground. Leah landed on top of me, using me as a cushion, which also protected her unborn child from harm. We ended up saving each other's lives. Leah pulled me away from the car, but the person behind me wasn't so lucky and was struck and killed instantly. After that incident, Leah and I became inseparable friends. Now, her baby is 8 months old. After my rebirth, I hinted to Leah that there was going to be a mysterious epidemic soon, and that she should stock up on food and supplies at home. Leah obediently agreed to do so. I suddenly remembered that we had some baby formula. When I was buying formula, I swept all the adult formula off the shelves, and inadvertently, 10 cans of baby formula got mixed in. I discovered this at checkout but was too lazy to return them, so I took them home. Now, I could find a way to get the formula to Leah. If it were someone else, I might have just watched from the sidelines and not played the hero, but Leah had saved my life. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Besides, we weren't far apart. I could just send it over with a drone at night. It was my first time flying a drone, and lacking experience, I tested it inside the house for quite some time. Once I was sure it was ready, I tied 2 cans of formula to it, planning to send it to Leah under the cover of darkness. I had already asked her to open the window on the north side of her balcony. I opened my balcony window too, carefully positioned the drone, and slowly let it out while lying prone at the window, operating it with my phone. I watched as the drone slowly flew away and landed on Leah's balcony. The drone circled in the air, I saw more and more zombies in the hunter community, and it seemed like the zombies had evolved. Some were breaking through doors and smashing first-floor windows. Under their fierce pounding, the glass shattered, and zombies poured into the houses, immediately followed by screams of terror. When the drone returned, it carried a note: "You saved the baby. The complex I live in is a high-end one, with tall walls and large iron gates. The zombies haven't breached it yet. But it's only a matter of time. I rent my apartment and haven't joined the property management group for the complex, as I don't want to get to know my neighbors or reveal that I have a large stock of supplies, fearing I might become a target for looting." 2 days later, both electricity and water were cut off. Zombies were increasingly common, and other than wandering zombies, no other living creatures could be seen on the streets. Zombies had started to infiltrate our complex. But there were only a dozen or so. The doors of our building were sturdy, and it seemed unlikely that zombies would get in soon, but the situation in the hunter community across from us was dire. Every now and then, a household was breached by zombies. Some people, to avoid being bitten by zombies, chose to jump from buildings. However, even after falling to their deaths, they still ended up as food for the zombies. After the water and electricity were cut off, the situation took a sharp downturn. They had some rice left to make do with, but without water, their lives were at stake. Before the water shut off, they hadn't thought to store any. Thirsty for 2 days, they were forced to drink water from the toilet tank. Miss Laurel was the first to lose her patience, furiously cursing at Hunter. Pushed to the brink, Hunter no longer indulged her. He slapped her hard across the face. Laurel, stunned and enraged, lunged at Hunter. "It's over. You dare to hit me, not paying back the money you owe. Causing my father to die miserably in the hospital, trapping me in your house without food or drink, and now you even dare to hit me." She then started scratching and clawing at Hunter, who fought back with punches and kicks. The grandmother rushed to help, and together they subdued her. The grandmother said viciously, "This wretched woman, eating and using our stuff, yet still so temperamental." Then she turned to Hunter. "We're running low on food and water. We might as well throw her out to feed the zombies." This was exactly what Hunter had in mind. Hunter grabbed Laurel by the hair and forcefully threw her out the door. Outside, Laurel first raged, demanding Hunter to open the door and let her in. Then she begged, but to no avail. Her screams attracted the zombies, and soon she was bitten and turned into one of them. Hunter and his mother sat inside the house, their expressions changing unpredictably, even with Laurel gone. Their remaining food and water were running low, but that wasn't the worst of it. Before long, Laurel's face appeared on the window glass, her hand banging on it, half of her face bitten off, staring menacingly at Hunter. Hunter turned around and saw Laurel pressing against the glass, which startled him into jumping up. Seeing the spectacle, I couldn't resist abandoning my surveillance. I grabbed a high-definition telescope, stood on the balcony, and watched them through the glass with great interest. Under Laurel's forceful pounding, the glass soon cracked. Startled, Hunter grabbed a kitchen knife for defense. A piece of glass broke, and Laurel's head tried to push through. Hunter, wielding the knife, struck at her head repeatedly, spilling her brain matter, yet she continued to move, half her body quickly making its way into the house. Desperate, Hunter increased the speed of his swings. The grandmother also grabbed a rolling pin and struck Laurel hard. Laurel grabbed the rolling pin with one hand and clawed fiercely at the grandmother's hand with the other, her sharp nails digging deep into her flesh. Seeing this, Hunter put all his strength into chopping at Laurel's neck, tilting her head to one side while her hands flailed in vain. Together, Hunter and the grandmother managed to push Laurel's body and throw it down the stairs. Then, the grandmother, in a panic, cradled her injured hand, noticing 3 scratch marks turning from red to black, feeling numbness and itchiness, and couldn't help but scream, "Son, she scratched me." Hunter stared at his mother's hand, panic-stricken, stepping back, then ran to the bedroom and locked the door, shouting, "Mom, please jump out the window. I'm your son. Don't harm me. I want to live." The grandmother banged on the bedroom door, while Hunter, terrified, opened the window to jump, but dared not. Suddenly, he stretched his neck to look far up at my floor, silent for a long while. The grandmother kept banging on the door, and in a swift moment, Hunter opened the bedroom door. The grandmother couldn't stop in time and fell to the floor, and Hunter seized the moment to jump out of the bedroom, twisting the door shut tightly. Using the key attached to the lock, I locked the bedroom door, trapping my mother-in-law inside. I pointed to the monitor to show my mom Hunter, and suddenly, Hunter's pale face appeared on the screen. He moved closer to the camera, his mouth unnaturally stretched into a smile. "Mabel, you can see me, right? I just found out you've installed cameras in the house. Just you wait, I'm coming for you. I won't let you off easily." His smile was twisted and sinister, and I quickly turned off the monitor, terrified. As dawn broke, my phone rang. I groggily answered, "Hello, Mabel." The familiar voice made me sit up in shock. It was Hunter. I was instantly wide awake, my skin crawling with goosebumps. I stayed silent, and he slowly began to speak. I know where you are. I saw you yesterday. You live across, on the 10th floor. I saw you wearing that blue nightgown with the big flowers, the one you bought in Xinjiang. I saw it when you were flying that drone outside the other night. I suddenly sat up, unable to help myself from checking the doors and windows. Seeing the dense protective bars and bulletproof glass on the windows, I reassured myself of the high security. While I was looking, my mom asked, "Mabel, why are you up so early? I've made 8 treasure porridge. Would you like some fried eggs?" Hunter burst into laughter. "Ha, you're living comfortably, aren't you? Still got eggs to eat. After everything you did to me, how can you still face yourself?" I retorted with a bitter laugh. "You, Laurel, and your mom plotted against me, planning to take my kidneys. Was I supposed to just sit back and wait to die? If you hadn't harbored ill intentions, would you have ended up inviting danger that turned your mom into a zombie under Laurel's command?" Hunter yelled. "It's all your fault, all of it. Just wait, I'll come for you and make sure you have nowhere to bury," I replied irritably. "Survive first before you say anything else." Suddenly, Hunter screamed, and the call ended. I hurriedly turned on the monitor. My mother-in-law had broken out of the room, with black drool leaking from the corners of her mouth. Her bitten hand was now festering and oozing dark fluid. She lunged at Hunter, who quickly grabbed a kitchen knife from the dining table to defend himself. Despite becoming a zombie, my mother-in-law was now stronger and more agile. Hunter caught her, but she pulled him down with a backhand tug, crashing to the floor. She leapt at him. Hunter swung the knife, chopping at her repeatedly, black blood spraying everywhere. She staggered to her feet and lunged at Hunter again, dodging. He waited for opportunities to continue hacking at his mom. With one swing, he severed her left hand, but she turned her head and bit off half of his ear. Driven to madness, Hunter furiously chopped several more times until she finally lay motionless. Touching his mangled ear, Hunter suddenly looked up, his gaze fixed on the camera with a menacing smile. "Mabel, did you see that? I just killed my mom. You're next." Hunter's sanity seemed to crumble as he yelled, "I'm starving." He then pounced on his mother's body, sucking the blood from her remains. He then rushed to the dining table. He grabbed a bottle of pills from the dining table and swallowed them all in one gulp. That bottle contained the sleeping pills I had gotten from the hospital, but Hunter had switched them with medication for treating depression. After saying that, he turned, yanked open the door, and bolted out. I was dumbfounded by the madness of the actions unfolding before me. Soon, zombies downstairs surrounded Hunter. One of the zombies lunged at him and bit him. It was Laurel, whose neck was nearly half severed, yet she hadn't died and had been lingering downstairs. With a flick of his wrist, Hunter sent Laurel flying far away. Hunter's mutation progressed quickly. He was already immensely strong. I knew he would soon join the ranks of the zombies and wreak havoc everywhere. A chill ran down my spine, and turning around, I saw my parents standing behind me. "Mom, Hunter and his mom have both turned into zombies," I said, my voice rough, feeling both joy and fear. My mom wrapped her arms around me. "Mabel, don't be afraid. Your dad and I are here, and we'll protect you." After witnessing Hunter turn into a zombie, I felt a panic set in. My mom had prepared a delicious breakfast, but I had no appetite. Suddenly, my phone rang, displaying Hunter's name. I hastily picked up the binoculars and saw Hunter lying on the roadside, his phone in front of him. "Mabel, wait for me. I will find you." His voice sounded sharp and metallic. I threw the phone to the ground in a panic and continued to watch Hunter through the binoculars. He lifted his head, his neck bent backward 180 degrees, and grinned at me, saying, "Wait for me. I'm coming to find you." With a whoosh, he agilely vaulted over the community wall, dashed across the street, and headed towards my building at lightning speed. In a panic, I dropped the binoculars and urged my parents to quickly check that all doors and windows were securely locked. Even though all the doors and windows were locked, I was still nervous. When I had the house renovated, I had several cameras installed around it, and I could see everything through my laptop. My apartment was accessed directly via an elevator, which used to require a card to operate but had long since been out of power due to the outage. As for the fire escape, I had already secured the doors to my unit, the entrance to my floor, and the security door on this level with the thickest U-locks and chain locks, and installed strong door barricades. It would be nearly impossible for anyone to get in. And for zombies, it would be almost impossible as well. Before long, I saw Hunter arrive at the building's entrance on the surveillance camera, followed by a few zombies. They violently pounded on the lobby door, banging and slamming, making the metal door clang and rattle. The door had a glass panel, 20 centimeters wide and 120 centimeters tall, for letting in light. Hunter fiercely pounded on the glass, which soon cracked. He viciously kicked it, shattering the glass, and the shards embedded in his leg, but he showed no reaction. It was worrying. If he entered through the crack, climbed up the fire escape, and led a group of zombies upstairs. They might be able to break through the security door on the 10th floor. I clenched my fists. My dad picked up a chainsaw. My mom grabbed a telescopic stun baton, and I took a baseball bat, and we stood at the door, ready to defend ourselves, prepared for the worst. Despite the shattered glass at the entrance, Hunter didn't manage to squeeze through. The opening was too small for him, so he turned away and left. I breathed a sigh of relief. However, after waiting for quite some time, I suddenly heard rustling noises behind me. I had locked all the doors and windows, but where was the noise coming from? Turning around slowly, I was horrified to find a bloody head reflected on the living room glass. It was Hunter. He was gripping the iron bars outside the window, his mouth agape, bloodied, smiling at me. A chill ran down my spine. Clearly, Hunter had mutated. He had become a new kind of zombie. Not only intelligent and strong, but also possessing supernatural abilities. Perhaps it was the combination of consuming zombie blood and taking psychoactive drugs that triggered his mutation. He pounded on the glass forcefully, repeatedly. My father wielded a chainsaw while my mother held a baseball bat, standing in front of me to protect me. "Don't be scared, sweetheart. Your mom and dad are here. We'll protect you at all costs," they assured me. Tears rolled down my cheeks. With my parents by my side, I felt a surge of courage. I grabbed my mother's hand and whispered, "Don't be afraid, Mom." Outside, Hunter continued to smile wickedly, tearing at the wire mesh with his hands, embedding his fingers into it without feeling any pain, and ripped open a gap. I quietly moved to a corner and pressed a button. A hissing sound ensued as electric sparks flew from the wire mesh. A high-voltage current instantly covered the net. Hunter's hands shook as he held the mesh, his body twisting violently. I toggled the switch off and then on again, repeatedly increasing the current. Under the electric shock, his body convulsed until he finally fell backwards and dropped to the ground. I hurriedly checked the surveillance. Hunter lay motionless on the ground. My parents came close to the monitor and asked, "Is he dead?" Wiping the sweat from my forehead, I replied, "He should be." My dad said, "You two rest. I'll keep an eye on the surveillance." My mom and I sat on the couch, feeling somewhat weak in the knees. Suddenly, my dad exclaimed, "He's not dead. He's not dead. He's getting up." I rushed to the monitor to see Hunter slowly sitting up, twisting his body, looking up at our window, and laughing with his mouth full of blood. Then, he jumped up and started climbing the building again. I yelled, "Mom, Dad, don't be afraid. If he comes up, we'll shock him again." A few minutes later, Hunter's head reappeared on the glass. The glass was covered with a privacy film, allowing us to see him clearly, but he had to press his face against the glass to see us, so his face was squashed against it. It looked even more terrifying. I turned the electricity up to maximum, and the sparks hissed as his body curled up. Minutes later, he fell down, lying motionless on the ground. My dad watched intently on the monitor. "He's not moving anymore. He might be dead." But soon, he rolled over a few times, slowly got up, and then quickly started climbing upstairs. He used his hands and feet, climbing up swiftly. I continued with the maximum electricity. The current buzzed through his body, causing him to tremble slightly, seemingly becoming less affected by the electricity. I abruptly turned off the electric switch and then turned it back on, repeatedly, allowing the sudden shocks to continuously stimulate him. He fell down again. However, this time, he got up even faster. It seemed his body was becoming insensitive to the electricity. Sweat poured from my body. I gasped for air, my hands trembling. He climbed up again, and this time the electric shock had an even lesser effect on him. He tore through the electric fence, creating an opening, and continued to rip apart the security bars, using both hands to forcefully bend the bars apart. The sturdy bars were actually twisted by his force. Panicking, I opened the window and, with a baseball bat in hand, I beat him fiercely. The bat rained down on his head and shoulders. He reached back to grab the bat, but its end was too slippery and he couldn't hold on. I used all my strength to beat him with the bat, and he fell heavily to the ground, looking up at me with a sinister smile. I quickly closed the window, but he climbed up again. Panic filled my heart. My dad brought a large bottle of gasoline. He opened the window and, before he could reach it, doused him with it. Quickly, I lit a lighter and threw it at him. Instantly, he was engulfed in flames like a fireball, and he let go, thudding to the ground. I peered out the window to the ground below, only to see him rolling back and forth, quickly extinguishing the flames on his body. His skin was charred black, and he lay motionless on the ground. "Is he dead this time?" my mom asked me. I was breathing heavily, unsure of how to respond. Half an hour later, he was still motionless. Just when we had just breathed a sigh of relief, we saw him climbing the building again on the monitor. I was almost in despair. I watched helplessly as he climbed up, tearing at the security window bars. I opened the window and continued to beat him with the baseball bat, strike after strike, until my hands were sore. But he still wouldn't let go. My dad took the electric baton from my mom and continued to shock him, but it was no use. The bars had a basketball-sized hole torn in them. He reached out and banged on the glass. Bang, bang, each thud echoing in my heart. Thankfully, this upscale community had installed bulletproof glass, which was incredibly sturdy. He banged for a long time, but the glass was undamaged. While my dad seized the moment when he let go of one hand to hit the glass, he aimed at his face, turning towards us. With a long watermelon knife in hand, he fiercely stabbed toward his eyes. Hunter screamed, fell backward, and tumbled down again. This time, he crawled on the ground for a long time and didn't come back up. Hours passed, and we finally breathed a sigh of relief. Watching the monitor, I noticed he was no longer downstairs. He's gone, Mom. He's not downstairs anymore. My parents came over to check the monitor and, seeing no sign of him, finally relaxed. My dad and I took turns watching the monitor, while Mom quickly whipped up some food, and we ate in shifts. The day's intense battles with the undead left us utterly exhausted. As dusk fell, we all went to bed. I had just drifted off when suddenly I heard a piercing scream from my mom. I sprang out of bed like a spring and rushed towards the source of the noise, with a loud snap echoing in the night. The noise came from the bathroom of the guest bedroom where my parents stayed. They had chosen this room because it was bright with a window on the eastern side. I burst in and immediately saw Hunter, his face pressed against the window, sneering with his left eye socket now a dark, sticky hollow. My mom had entered the bathroom and screamed upon seeing Hunter's head. The bathroom window was small, and I had fitted it with a stainless steel security bar. At that moment, Hunter was tearing at the bar, having already shattered the glass, which lay scattered on the floor. I realized that the developers had cut corners, installing ordinary glass instead of bulletproof glass in the small bathroom window, allowing him to easily break it. My dad, wielding the watermelon knife, chopped at his hands, severing 2 fingers, blood pouring freely, yet he felt no pain and continued to tear at the bars with his remaining fingers. I ran to the living room and quickly grabbed a fully charged electric saw. Hunter had already broken a bar. He thrust his head and one arm, now missing 2 fingers and charred black, through the window. His fingertips nearly grabbed my dad's arm. "Dad, move," I yelled, and he stepped back. I sidestepped the arm, dodged to the side, quickly turned on the electric saw, which buzzed violently. As his neck almost crossed the windowsill, I positioned the saw's teeth accurately against his neck and pressed down hard. The sharp teeth cut into his neck as he writhed and twisted, his red tongue sticking out, making ghastly sounds. The saw vibrated as I pressed down hard to counter his struggles, the brief 30 seconds feeling like a century. His neck was half severed, his head drooping yet still struggling futilely. I steadied the saw firmly and continued cutting, but suddenly he reached out, grabbing my arm tightly, constricting it as if bound by a spell. Excruciating pain. My parents gasped in shock. My father, wielding a watermelon knife, chopped at the arm of the intruder, careful not to exert too much force to avoid injuring me. Enduring the severe pain in my arm, I firmly held onto the chainsaw and pressed it against his head. As I sawed through bone and sinew, the last bit of flesh still connected to his head, my hand trembled, and with a final cut, his head fell off completely, thudding to the ground and rolling towards the doorway. Half his body still lay sprawled on the windowsill, his hand, missing 2 fingers, still gripping my arm in a disturbing, frightening hold. My father took the chainsaw from me, severed that arm, and then used a baseball bat to push the rest of his body out of the window. He then grabbed 2 towels to cushion his hands and picked up the severed head from the floor, throwing it out of the window. This terrifying monster was finally dead. But Hunter's hand was still clutching my arm. As my father began to pry it away, I quickly stopped him. "Dad, be careful of the blood on his hands. Don't touch them directly." My mother, terrified, was sobbing uncontrollably. She fetched a small knife from the kitchen, and my father used it to pry open Hunter's hand and throw it downstairs. "Mabel, are you hurt?" my mother asked through tears. "Don't worry, Mom, I'm okay," I reassured her, then carefully unbuttoned my denim jacket, revealing another tight denim jacket underneath. My pants were similarly layered. Last night, after a futile attempt to beat up my zombie husband, I remained vigilant before going to sleep, ready for another fight. I dressed heavily to protect myself, and though it made me sweat, the thick layers of clothing shielded me at a crucial moment. Aside from some redness and swelling, my arm was not broken or bleeding. My mother, overcome with relief, hugged me tightly and cried. I quickly covered her mouth, whispering, "Mom, be careful, keep quiet, noise might attract more zombies." She immediately quieted down, wiping her tears. In contrast, my father was much calmer. Seeing that I was unharmed, he went on to do something more urgent. He gathered some thick wires left over from renovations and began to reinforce the broken safety railing, twisting the wires tight. The glass had already shattered, posing a great risk if more zombies were to climb up, but at the moment, Replacing the glass was not an option. Fortunately, the bathroom window was small. My father, using his ingenuity, took a large chopping board from the kitchen meant for dough, measured it, and cut it to size with a chainsaw. He then used various glues and sealants left by the renovation company, along with expansion bolts, to completely seal the window. We could finally catch our breath, sitting on the couch. The three of us couldn't help but embrace and cry together. Having survived the toughest ordeal, the days that followed seemed to get better. Apart from Hunter, the other zombies didn't seem to have special abilities. They neither climbed walls nor entered buildings. Zombies roamed our community daily, and as time passed, their physical functions seemed to be slowly deteriorating, as the movements became increasingly sluggish, and once it was certain that the zombies would not climb upstairs again. My parents couldn't help but think about the vegetable garden on the rooftop, eager to tend to it. This was our first visit to the rooftop since the zombie outbreak nearly a month ago. Most of the flowers in the garden were dead, but we didn't care much about that. In this post-apocalyptic world, the desire for romance had faded away. The vegetable garden was thriving, a generous gift left by our landlord. The cucumbers were a bit overgrown, but still crisp and refreshing to taste. The garden was densely packed with eggplants, chili peppers, string beans, while pumpkins and loofahs sprawled across the ground. Most of the leafy greens had dried up, but the majority of the vegetables had survived, thanks to several soaking rains over the month. The bounty of vegetables was a delightful surprise. My mother and I busied ourselves with gathering all the edible produce inside the house, while my father turned on the rooftop water pump. Soon, clear well water was drawn up, filling buckets, ready to water the garden thoroughly. From now on, the small garden would become our primary source of vegetables. On the day of the zombie outbreak, my father risked his life to buy some baby chicks, which we kept in a bathroom of a guest bedroom. I complained about the smell, so my dad comforted me by constructing an enclosed chicken coop on the rooftop to reduce the noise. In about 10 more days, once the chicks grew a bit bigger and developed some resistance, they could be moved up there. I cleaned the solar panels on the rooftop to ensure they functioned more efficiently. The natural gas was long gone. These days, we cooked with an induction stove, so it was crucial to maintain a stable power supply. Life became more settled, and so did our spirits. The internet was also down, cutting off our communication with the outside world. I lost contact with Leah. Fortunately, I found 2 walkie-talkies in a cupboard in the study, left behind by the landlord for reasons unknown. After charging the walkie-talkies and confirming they worked, I used a drone to deliver one to Leah, re-establishing our contact. I worried about Leah and would send her food and supplies via drone every few days. Although the drone once attracted Hunter's attention, risking my safety, I took the risk to look after Leah. If it hadn't been for her risking her life to save me, I might not have been alive when flying the drone. I always did so at night when it was quiet and unseen, quickly there and back, coordinating the timing with Leah. I sent all the baby formula to her and, if needed later, planned to send adult formula as a makeshift solution, better than nothing. Thankfully, as the baby grew, he could start on solid foods. Once our chickens began laying eggs, I planned to send some eggs every few days to supplement the baby's nutrition, since we had a stable power source. I sent Leah some smokeless charcoal and solid alcohol. I also planned to send some vegetables from the rooftop garden every few days to ensure they had a source of vitamins. Before the zombie outbreak, Leah heeded my advice and stocked up on food and supplies, which should help her get by for now. 3 months after the outbreak, one evening just as it was getting dark, a loud explosion suddenly echoed through the air, followed by a massive fire blazing up from a residential building 2 streets to the east, the flames reaching high into the sky. I guessed it might have been caused by someone's household gas cylinder exploding, leading to the fire. The towering flames attracted the zombies. All the zombies rushed towards the fire. Thinking quickly, I immediately called Leah on the walkie-talkie. "Leah, I see all the zombies heading towards the explosion. Take a good look, and if there are no zombies in your area, see if you can drive to my place. You all should come over. My house has plenty of supplies and it's safe here." Leah replied, "My car is right downstairs, but it's risky to go now. What if there are zombies downstairs?" I reassured her, "Don't worry, I'll use a drone to play music and attract the zombies away to clear a path for you." I grabbed a new phone, set a time with Leah, and used an app to play music on a timer. I flew the drone around her building. There were no zombies in sight. I quickly told Leah to come downstairs. She and her husband, carrying their child and their bags, managed to get into their car and drove straight to our neighborhood. Our complexes are very close, just over 100 meters apart. 3 minutes later, their car pulled up right outside my building. My drone followed closely beside the car, ready to lure any appearing zombies away. Fortunately, no zombies showed up. My dad had already grabbed the keys and opened the building door for them. Leah and her family safely arrived at our place. The next day at dawn, some zombies returned and started roaming around the two complexes again. We had seized the best opportunity. Leah was extremely grateful that we took them in, as they were running low on water and didn't have much food left at their home. They were struggling to get by, unsure of how long they could last. Not having to send supplies via drone to Leah anymore also reduced my risks. With 3 more people at home, it became livelier, especially with the baby babbling and learning to walk, which was both exhausting and fun. My parents and I helped Leah and her husband with childcare, giving them some relief. With ample supplies, Leah, who had been looking gaunt, gradually looked healthier, although the internet was down. We occasionally received external news via the radio. During this period, we learned that the government had organized a large medical team continuously researching a cure for the zombies. The military was also working hard to eliminate zombies everywhere. A year later, the government developed a remedy for the zombies. Helicopters flew overhead daily, spraying the medicine. Zombies that got drenched in the medicine slowly rotted, turning into sludge and bones. Any that slipped through were eliminated by the military using high-pressure water guns filled with the medicinal solution and other weapons. Once all the zombies were completely eradicated, we finally stepped out of our home. The long-missed feeling of solid ground beneath our feet was reassuring. With the sun above and the earth below, I had finally survived. Leah's baby, now 1 year and 8 months old, not only could walk, but also run and was babbling away, able to communicate with simple words and short sentences. My parents, Leah, her husband, their child, and I boarded a military vehicle collecting survivors and headed to the survivor base to start a new life.